What's good, everybody? This is S. Foster, and you in for another Stolen Time podcast, man. This is episode 207 of the podcast. There's still no Uncle Washington, but you know what I'm saying. I've been checking on my guy. You know, things are what they are. But as of right now, I got a panel along with me today. I got my co-host of the Viewers Anonymous with me. I got Scootzbronsen with me. You know what I'm saying? I got somebody that's also part of the team's been on the podcast a couple of times. We got Sinclair back in the building with me, and I also got Dustin. You know what I'm saying? The reoccurring guest. We had a great conversation the last time he was on. So man, I'm gonna start with Dustin, man. Dustin, man, how you feeling, man? Everything good with you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Just still out here in the country in Chesney and just working and enjoying the family life, man. So I'm good.
Yes, sir. And no complaints there, man. What about you, Sin?
Man, everything's going well, man. It's just like enjoying my daughter. She's starting to grow her teeth in and starting to crawl a little bit and rolling over and all that. I'm just excited to see her progression as she's becoming to discover herself, and also just like my other daughter, seeing her become more active and more less shy around people and all that stuff, and seeing her grow her courage. And that's all, man. I'm just sitting up here just enjoying life as it is right now, being a new dad.
Yes, sir. Nothing wrong with that, man. What about you, Scoots?
Man, you know me, man. I'm enjoying life, man. I got a busy week of podcasting and what I'm saying, getting ready to finish it out. But I'm also praying for these two brothers down here, man, because it seems like they got the younger kids. So, mine a little bit older. So, I know how they feeling right now. But just wait, man. Y'all about to get to them those older kid blues real soon.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, look, I'm the veteran here. I got the oldest. You know what I'm saying? I got a boy that's about to
Man.
be 14 this year. So, hey, man.
Mm-mm.
So I
I
think I,
got you. My daughter 14.
oh,
yeah,
Uh-oh.
man. And listen, like,
Yeah.
I posted. Hey, Scoop, you got on me the other day because I posted that picture of me and Tay shoes side by side, man. This
Oh
dude
man.
catching me, man. He
Yeah.
walking me in, dude. That's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Get ready.
But yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. So, you know what I'm saying? I got the panel together. I feel this is gonna be a great episode, man. We got a lot of topics to touch, man. And you know, I wanna start with this, man. Like I spoke about this the last time I put out a Stolen Time podcast. It was me and Scoots, and it's still a huge story, man. Everybody loves the NFL draft. It's something that captures a lot of people because I think that it's one of those, like Uncle Washington always called the draft, like, you know what I'm saying, that hope thing. You know what I'm saying? You hope this pick is going to work out. So the hugest news was the 49ers jumping all the way up to three. And it's been this whole thing of like, they're going to take a quarterback. And what I said last week, and I'm starting to hear a lot of people catching on to it, is that I think this whole Matt Jones going number three, I think it's a smoke. Man. I think that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan is like just messing with everybody in the NFL, in the media, messing with everybody. This dude is not taking Matt Jones. I'm telling you, he's taking Justin Fields. I'm here if anybody's gonna disagree with me on that, man. How y'all feeling about who y'all think the 49ers are gonna take with the third?
I'll sit up there and start it. I think that they're going to sit up there and take Justin Fields because I mean, looking at it and all, Mac Jones, whenever he was throwing a ball, yeah, he was throwing the wide open receivers, but again, like those wide open receivers are all American things. So even I've been playing with about 14 years, 13, 14 years. I guess now even I can sit up there and hit those wide open receivers that he's hitting as well too, with all that stuff. But I've always said is like a dual threat quarterback that beats a pocket quarterback any day because like you can't disguise that or develop or either try defend that option there because you can't defend his throwing, you can't defend his running, especially if he's a good accurate thrower as well too. So I mean, like in order for Kyle Shanahan and whenever he was very successful, he had quarterbacks and stuff who were like that with RG3 and also with Matt Ryan. He was a little bit mobile and all, But with that one, I just sit there and say, it's like I thought it was a smoke screen anyway to try to get his pub up to get him up there, because I really don't think that Mac Jones is really that good of a quarterback, in my personal opinion.
I wouldn't disagree.
What you got, Scoot?
I was just gonna say I wouldn't disagree that I think Mac's more of a game manager. Now I'm not all of football, and I think just looking at Justin Fields, I mean, I've seen him play on big stages, and I mean, again, I don't know what Sinclair knows about football, but I know if I was the 49ers, I would be picking up Fields all day, because he's did it against the best. And Scoot and Mac Brown did not have to do that.
Mac Jones.
Sorry. What am I thinking?
You think about Mac Brown?
Think about the coach.
The coach, Mac
yeah,
Brown.
I don't know why I was thinking Brown. I was going crazy.
Man, to be honest with you, I've fortunately had the chance to watch Justin Fields all season. I've caught every game that he's played. Just knowing what he's capable of, I think that towards the end of the season, he really showed a lot of promise, especially with, I forgot what game it was. I want to say it was the Michigan State game where he got injured, came back the next play, and he set a play out, came back right in and threw for a touchdown, and it was like, it didn't even faze him. With the tail end of the season that happened at Ohio State, I think that he kind of raised his draft stock with everything that happened. We came up against a tough Clemson team, and he did his best to make it happen, especially without Chris Olave in the game, which was his number one receiver. He still did his best to make sure that Ohio State kind of stayed in it. So with the offense that Ohio State had and everything that they were, able to do with them and the ways that they were able to use them, I think that, that kind of showed Kyle Shanahan a lot of promise and, a lot of options of what he can do. And then you got to remember, with Justin Fields being the type of quarterback that he is, being mobile and being able to sit in the pocket and do everything that he can do, it's kind of remnants of what Colin Kaepernick had. And I think that he has a lot more upside than Kaepernick, especially coming into the league, having a offensive coordinator like Kyle Shanahan, and then having the team that he has around him this time, with threats like Deebo Samuels, with a tight end like George Kittle, being able to have those options. I mean, if they don't pick Justin Fields, I'd be surprised.
Well, it sounds like everybody with me.
Yeah, it sounds like we're with you.
Is the only thing that I've heard that makes a little bit of sense of the reason why they're making this whole thing like about Mac Jones, for the simple fact of maybe they might try to slide back a pick or two and see if somebody would slide up to get him. I don't know if it's like they're trying to do this whole thing of like trying to make him seem like, I don't know, man. Jones, tell me the last Alabama quarterback that really stepped into the league and did something. I mean, when your team is as loaded as these teams has been, like Sinclair said, I mean, look, I didn't even play quarterback and I could have hit, you know what I'm saying, Dante with some of these routes, man.
Like the last, my bad, Sean. I was thinking like the last person who I can think of who was from Alabama to actually do something in the NFL, and that was Joe Namath, and that was before any of us were born.
What about AJ McCarron?
Who was AJ McCarron playing for?
He played for the Bengals.
Oh,
he played for the Bengals. He did a decent job with the Bengals.
I didn't even think he was still playing no more.
I thought he was announcing now.
Yeah.
Hey, man, he backing up somebody somewhere, man.
Yeah, there could be something. I mean, like he could be just like how
Charlie White
is. Charlie White is.
He backing up somebody somewhere, man.
Come here. Yeah, so I figured that's probably be the case there.
Hey, we're not doing the backup thing again, man. We already did this, man. We did this with Chase Daniels. We're not going down this road, man. We're not going down this road today.
Oh man.
Man,
Oh man.
They could be
so
worried about
Dustin, man,
injuries.
you brought up so, yeah. Dustin, you brought up an interesting thing, man. You were saying that they had something about they didn't use the replay for I don't know if it was a stolen base or something like that. So what is going on, man, in the baseball, man, that you was speaking on earlier?
So, yeah, the two things. Well, the one with the replay, we've all seen it with the NFL. Where there's issues with the replay, and there's got to be enough evidence, to overturn. Well, there was a play at the plate, and the original call was that the runner was safe. I don't even know why the original call was that way, but that umpires see what they see, they make the call. I would much rather just have that. But anyway, they did the replay, and there was 5 different views they had, and none of which, even the announcers, I mean, you heard numerous people tell you that the guy never touched home plate. It seemed like there was plenty of evidence, in other words. And after the game, and they still, the call stands. They didn't confirm it, of course. It was just the call stands. And then that was the winning run of the game. It was late in the game. That was the winning run. So obviously, a lot of people were sour. It happened to my Braves, so obviously I was sour. But the instant replay issue, man, in baseball, we talked about speeding things up, slowing down. The NFL is actually longer than baseball games. People still watch it. I would say get rid of replay. Let human nature be part of it. People make mistakes. Let that umpire make his mistakes. They always have. It worked fine. And then they were also talking, there's recent talk of shortening the games to 7 innings. Because of the length, I guess, and that way you see the starting pitcher longer. The games are quicker. I'm a traditionalist. Again, I don't like that. I like that 9 innings. They got to make it work for 9 innings with what they got. But that's something, that's above my pay grade when it comes to baseball. I'm just a fan, but I don't like that either. So, but who knows? There'll be people who write in about it, I'm sure, and it'll be more discussed. Some people think it's really coming in a couple years, that 7 innings thing. So,
What you got, Scoop?
Dustin, I got a question.
yeah.
Like, you used to play baseball whenever we were in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and like, because I mean, like, I know that you're a baseball player. You enjoy all that stuff, and like, I'm occasional fan of it. Like, whenever it goes to the playoffs and like probably the home run derby. Whenever I look at it and all that stuff, but like, be devil advocate and stuff like that. Like, I kind of see the reason why they want to go ahead and shorten it to 7 innings instead of 9 is because, yeah, for one, I think it's way too long, and it's not as to me, it doesn't keep my excitement for a long time either. It's like it just seems like it's a boring thing. I understand that there's strategy behind it and all that. I guess because if I played it, I'll probably be more interested into it. But my guess of going to 7 innings is that like it'll make it more sense of urgency, and therefore like you're going to have to get your runs in and be able to get your scheme in a whole lot faster than what it is. Because I mean, like, yeah, it's fine. You have your 3 outs and 9 innings and stuff like that, but 9 times out of 10, like half your people aren't getting any action. If you look at it, because I mean, like the only person really in action, honestly, if you really think about it, is the pitcher, the catcher, and maybe even a batter. But everybody else is basically just standing around waiting on them to hit the ball.
That's what it's. You good?
Yeah.
All right. So that's what you see. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. Give me 1 second. Love you.
We're getting a surprise.
But there's a lot more to it than that. So just like in football, I don't know. I don't understand if you read out coverages to me, what the defense is doing while the quarterback's talking. So there is a lot more to it. If you look, I mean, those players, they study videotape just like in football. When a pitch is coming, they're moving out there. Every pitch, they're adjusting. But the reason I don't like 7 innings, also as a fan, if I go out there with my family, I want all that time to enjoy. I want that time to enjoy that game and the hot, or the summer night with the lights on. And even as a player, I always wanted more. Trust me, as a player, man, let's play 3. I always wanted it, especially now. I look back, I wish I could play again. And also last week, Sean and I discussed that urgency issue you were talking about, like making things matter. I would be okay if they shorten the season. They play 162 games. That's over or almost half the year. And that's not counting spring training games, anything else. So I think if they shorten the season, make the games matter more, like football. I mean, even basketball. Basketball plays 80-something games. I mean, drop it down, make each game mean a little bit more.
Yeah, but even with basketball, I mean, it's still going to a little bit longer. For the simple fact is that like there was no sense of urgency until like the playoffs, because you have like the team like the Nets now, like their whole damn team is just sitting there, they're just chilling up until they do that because they don't want to get hurt, so to speak. So they're all sitting up there just chilling for the most part because there's supposed to be a big marquee matchup tonight, and half their players ain't even playing.
Right. One difference in baseball.
So that's what I'm saying is, like, I think you should.
Broke up a little on me.
Yeah, he breaking up.
No, I was just saying, like, you can go ahead and go.
I was just with the baseball and basketball. Baseball, they play the 3 games, so those 3 games do matter. You're winning a series. You got different pitchers. Each pitcher, 5 pitchers, not counting if somebody gets hurt or somebody goes down to the minor leagues and comes up. You need a little bit more there. It would mean a little bit more. In basketball, you generally have the same roster with your same guys the whole season. And with baseball, there's a whole variance, variables. That's why it's any given day, not, with a pitcher. A pitcher can make all the difference in the world, just one player. Same lineup, that one pitcher can change it. But that would be
okay. But you have like your Giancarlo Stanton, who stood there and smacked the home runs off, or so. But I mean, like, I understand what you're saying that like they'll end up changing the whole aspect and like the whole aspect of the game. But I'm just saying, like, the only way that I can think of you making baseball appealing, especially to like, I guess, African American and stuff, is just pick up the pace of the game. Because you're dealing with football, basketball, and like I think football and basketball are still popular among African Americans. I'm not sure about track anymore, but like I know they're interesting because of the simple fact is that you don't really have to like control the pace of the play. I mean, the pace of the play is actually dictated by the speed of the game, and like more people, I guess our attention spans aren't as what do you call it, on as long as it was back in the day.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
I was gonna say
understand.
that's everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying though. Like I will enjoy that time with my family as well too. Just sit out there and just chill out and just enjoy the baseball game and the hot dog and all this stuff. But I was like, man, golly, like I'll end up falling asleep because I remember a time when I went to the Greenville Drive before the pandemic,
Oh yeah.
and I went up through there just to do it, and actually went over there with one of my neighbors, and we were looking at the game, and I was sitting there and had me a beer and stuff, and I ended up like falling asleep at the game because I mean like I really wasn't that interested into it,
That's
and I was
all right,
like,
man.
yeah, I know it was all right. Well, it ain't all right, bro. Cause you shouldn't have been going to the game so be entertaining and stuff, but I was just so bored to where I just ended up falling asleep on it.
Hey man, I've fallen asleep at NASCAR races many a times. All right, and I love NASCAR. It just sometimes it happens, man. Sometimes it can be boring.
Yeah.
Can I interject real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Scoots.
Okay, so Sinclair made a very interesting point. He said that it wasn't as appealing to African Americans. And what I noticed is from the time that I've been young, because baseball is the first sport that I've ever played. So from the time that I've been young to the time of course, now, I realized that a lot of baseball programs and little league programs have gotten out of those inner city or urban areas and kind of moved out to the suburbs, anything else like that, or any other place like that, to where like what I'm saying, young black kids really don't have the opportunity to even play baseball at a young age. And baseball is one of those things that is they call it America's pastime for a reason. That's one of those things that with the exclusion of the Negro leagues, and a lot of these kids don't remember guys like Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr. Man, I forgot old dude's name from Kenny Lofton. You know what I'm saying? Those kind of players, they don't get a chance to see those type of players, or they don't get a chance to see themselves in the game. So to them, it's not really a game for them. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to watch an NFL or NBA to where you see guys that look like you and you feel like that's a game that you have to play. I feel like if they bring back some of those programs to where, what I'm saying, inner city or urban kids can go and play and get a chance to learn the game, that eventually they'll get back into baseball. Me, myself, both of my sons play baseball. This is the second sport they played outside of soccer, because what I'm saying, those are all of the sports I played. I played baseball, football, and soccer growing up. So when I watch sports, or if I'm watching ESPN or whatever comes on Sunday on ABC, what I'm saying, or FS1, I'm making sure that I'm also watching baseball so my sons can see that this is a sport that you can also be interested in. So that's just as far as on that point. Going into making the game shorter, I don't think they should make the game shorter. I think 9 innings is supposed to be 9 innings. I think that if you reduce it down to 7 innings, you take a lot of tradition away from the sport of baseball. When you go watch a baseball game, especially for young kids, that's a great, place to be. Like, both of you guys said, you get a chance to relax with your family. You get a chance to enjoy your family and have that, quality family time. But also, there's the national tradition of the 7th inning stretch, where you get to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and that's at every ballpark, whether it be major leagues, AAA, AA, single A, whatever. And then you also got certain traditions at each ballpark that each that each family gets to go to and get into. Just like if you go to a football game, and everybody has their chants, and everybody has their certain voodoo that they put on the opposing team. And then as far as instant replay, I have to disagree with Dustin on this one. I think that they should add instant replay and keep instant replay, only because they're like you said, if a guy is coming in the home and he's not touching the plate, and the umpire makes that call, at the split second, the umpire can make that call. But if that's something that the manager is looking at, or somebody else on the field is looking at and saying, hey, he never touched the plate, or hey, you can't give him that because of I don't know, it looked like he caught the ball when it was going towards a home run and he dropped it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to give him that, right? So if the umpire is making a call and calling it a home run and he really dropped the ball, then it's not really a home run. So I think that would help out. But as far as the MLB really bringing people back to the game, I think that the real issue is that they dropped the ball when they had the steroid problem. The steroid problem is really what kind of killed the MLB. Like, you had Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. You got guys like Barry Bonds, who are known as home run kings, but they all have that asterisk by their name because, you know, we've heard about steroids and everything else like that. I feel like if that never happened, then baseball would still be one of those top sports.
I don't disagree. About the steroids. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying, it's like, honestly, to me, like the steroid era is the reason why I watch baseball, because that was exciting.
Exactly.
Like, Ticks did the long ball. I remember going around the school just sitting there saying that Ticks did the long ball, and that was during the height of the steroid era, and that's what made me watch baseball, was to see who's going to hit a home run. But now, I mean, like, even with football, it's changing with football as well too, because like defense is what really matters. But like, most people want to sit up there and see the excitement of the touchdown, or the touchdown, and run a touchdown, throwing a touchdown, and catching a touchdown. That's the exciting part of it. But like, you get that more often than you would have it in baseball. But like in baseball, like the only time I really like care about baseball is like when I'm looking at the home run derby, or even if it's in like the playoffs and stuff like that, because it makes it more interesting. Another thing that you said that I kind of like was harping on. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, as far as the excitement of it, one thing is like it's certain things that you just can't. It's certain things you just can't change, right? Like with boxing, everybody says, well, boxing isn't exciting until it gets to the heavyweights. Well, it's one of those things that is just not going to change. I think that's why boxing has stayed around as long as it has and has been as prominent as long as it has, because of that. Like, boxing is, regardless if it's heavyweight, lightweight, whatever, it's still one of the most prominent sports. I think that if baseball stays the way it is I mean, it can still remain as one of those prominent sports. At the same time, you also have to remember that a lot of people don't like baseball because they don't understand baseball, right?
Right.
So baseball is not one of those sports to where, like Dustin said, it's not the same roster every night. You know, the lineups change up, the pitchers change up. You know, sometimes if you're watching, you get excited to see who's coming up to the bullpen to close the game out. You know, you got the big names, of course. You got those guys that, you know, you're excited to see. Like, for me, for instance, I got excited when the Cincinnati Reds got Yasiel Puig, because I'm like, oh, man, we finally got a big hitter outside of Joey Votto. It didn't pan out the way I thought it would, but, you know what I'm saying, I got excited for it, you know, because I knew what Yasiel Puig did in L.A. But,
boy, it was nasty.
Man, but I think it's more so if people understood the game, because football is easy to understand, right? You catch a ball, you run, you get tackled, or you get a touchdown. Basketball is easy to understand. You get a ball, you pass it around, you put it in the hoop. With baseball, it's not that easy to understand because some guy can hit the ball, but then you have to explain to people why he's getting the second base instead of going to first base, or he's getting the third base instead of getting the first base, or, you know, you got to understand why. If it's two people on the plates and then the guy hits it, two guys can run in, but he got to stay at first base. So I mean, like, it's a lot of different technicalities that go into it. So like I said, I feel like once more younger people get into the sport, and that's just all across the board, not just as far as black people go. Once more people get into the sport, they'll understand. And I think that with everything that has happened, it kind of made it a little bit harder because they've spread it out so much and they've gotten away from not just, you know what I'm saying, the inner cities or the urban areas, but more towards, you know what I'm saying, poor to middle class families to where they can't play baseball. Like my kids, we got lucky finding the little league that we found.
Right.
And then, you know, you go on ESPN and you start seeing little kids on TV. I think that once people start to see, you know what I'm saying, like the little kids on TV playing, that'll give them an incentive to be like, hey, let's get our kids in this too, because they can also be on TV and also get scholarships and everything else. Plus, I think before I stop, I also think that the addition of college football and college basketball on top of the NFL and the NBA also helps, you know what I'm saying, those sports grow to what they are, because we can kind of follow these guys into their careers.
Huge. Can I hit two things real quick before? All right.
Go ahead.
Well, one is on just the appealing to the black community. Jason Hayward and Andrew McCutcheon both. I don't know if y'all know Andrew McCutcheon. He played for the Pirates. Now he plays.
Yeah, he used to play for the Pirates, right?
I hate
Yeah.
Andrew McCutcheon.
Yeah.
I love Andrew.
I hate Andrew McCutcheon.
But they're both big on getting it into the black community, and down in Georgia, it is. But there's baseball everywhere in Georgia. We're in the South. But again, I don't know. That's one of those things I can't really speak to because the inner cities. One, I live out in the country. I mean, we got one little league park, so that's all we got. But I do know, I agree with you on. They're trying to make it more suburban. Even the place I grew up playing was just District 5, right across from Burns, or right down the road from Burns. And it was just, I mean, we had like an old tore down mansion out there that we would climb up. I mean, the kids would throw rocks at and go through the front door. The fields were beat up. But we loved it, man. I mean, that was some of the best times ever. But I can see if they're taking away ball fields, how that could be a problem. And I wish they would, because if that's the issue, I want more of everybody. I love the Hispanics that play. Pretty much all the way the infielders are taught now is thanks to the Dominican Republic. So I mean, the evolution of baseball and how we've seen it grow is thanks to every culture adding in something. And it's awesome. So I hope they keep it growing. I do. And the other point I wanted to hit with the college, I wanted to agree with you really, was that the college baseball scene used to be great back in the 90s. And now it's boring. I think they should make them use wood bats or something. They've got to do something to add something. Do a March Madness type. I mean, I know they do the World Series. That's 8 teams. You've got super regionals and regionals that you could add that in as the tournament. Just make it one big, the Summer Madness. And it turns out to be the same. And because gambling, I think, leads to big results. Honestly, because most people love gambling. They're going to watch their team win. That's why March Madness is huge.
Yeah.
And so you add that little aspect. You got a big tournament. You might get a team, a lucky team that makes their way. But I just wanted to agree with that. I like that point, and I never really thought about that. So,
hey, quick
I feel
question
like,
though.
I
It's
wanna
like
touch on
because I know that like. Go ahead. No, what I was
just
saying
gonna
was
say,
basically
I'm
like no, go ahead. My bad. I guess we got a delay or something.
yeah, there's a little bit.
But I wanted to touch on the one thing because, like, I think that baseball, because Scoot, you mentioned a couple of guys. Like, I used to love Kenny Lofton, Gary Sheffield. Back in the day, everybody know I'm a huge Ken Griffey Jr. fan. Reggie Jackson and all this type
Gotta
stuff.
love the
And I think
kid.
a lot of it is when you think about those guys, like a lot of their dads was probably fans of the Negro Leagues and like, huge fans of Hank Aaron and Jackie Robinson and stuff like that. So they
Josh
actually
Gibson.
probably played catch up with
Oh
the
man.
kids. Yeah, Josh Gibson. Like they probably taught their kids and went outside and actually threw balls with them. And it's like now I think that we're also taking away fields, and then you also got to make it comfortable because a lot of situations. I
Hey,
remember.
how
I'm
you
not
doing?
gonna say this person's name, but I remember a guy that wanted to play baseball at a school, and he was the only black guy on the team, and they kind of ran him off the team. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's like this fraternity because a lot of these dudes, like Dustin, I think you said you started playing when you was like 4. So it's like a lot of these dudes grow up together playing with each other. And then it's like then you throw in this black athletic dude, and then it's just like, yo, like he ain't a part of the crowd, so it's like they kind of give him a hard time to the point where he don't even want to play anymore. So like I think it's a lot of things, man, because baseball is that sport where it's like there's a lot of hand-eye coordination when you play the game, and like I don't like. I think that it's great to have athletic people to play, but I think it's more of hand-eye coordination.
It's a
And
learned skill versus straight athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
You have to.
yeah,
It's
like
a
I mean,
long
like
learned
it's not
skill.
something that you could, yeah, yeah, it's not something that you could like dance around. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to mention that. I just remember, that little story that I want to toss out there. But I want to stay with baseball real quick. But this is something that's baseball related, but it's also off the field related. Um, so it was supposed to be an
Hold,
All Star
Sean, before
game
before you do
against
that,
Atlanta. Okay.
hey, before you do that, let me bring up something. Another point I was thinking about as well too, is like because it kind of ties into what you're about to get into now. It kind of segue into it. But what I was thinking about as well too is that like with baseball, I think why it's kind of like diminishing from like the inner cities and stuff like that is because there's not a program that's geared to it. Because like in golf, you have this thing called the first tee. Basically, what it is like it gets inner city kids the chance to go out there and play golf. Like they end up sponsoring their membership dues, get them clubs, get them lessons, free lessons from PGA Tour members and all that stuff, so they can do that one. I'm not sure if they have that same program for baseball. I could be wrong, but that's something I think that's kind of helping it. I do know that they invest a lot. Well, MLB invests a lot in the Dominican Republic. The Republic thing, even though that's a poor countries and stuff like that, but they end up getting all these players and stuff out there. But I was just thinking if they do the same thing with the inner cities, develop or invest in the inner cities like they do over in those developing countries, then you will see a lot more people coming in and playing baseball. You see it more prevalent. So therefore, like now I can't even tell you a black player now that plays baseball, but I can tell you a Dominican player who plays baseball.
All the best players are black, man.
Yeah, let me speak on this one. Yeah, he's 100% right. All the best baseball
It's
players
other
right
than
now
Trout.
are
Other than
definitely
Trout.
either, like you
Yeah.
said, black guys or Dominicans, right?
Yeah.
I think the issue is that what I'm saying, we look at sports like baseball, we look at sports like soccer, we look at sports like lacrosse and he said golf. What I'm saying, we look at these as sports that are expensive, right? Um, when we look at baseball really isn't expensive. It's not an expensive sport to play.
Stick in
With,
a bat ball.
yeah, with both of my sons, we probably spend maybe about they've been playing for 3 years now, so we've probably spent about maybe I got two sons, so if for one kid, if you want to take one kid, we probably spent maybe like $300 a year. You know what I'm saying? Just for him to play baseball. And that's with a helmet, a bat, or an approved bat, and a glove and cleats. You know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to be able to play baseball. I think once again the thing is that just like Sinclair said, we don't think that there's programs around for kids to play. Little leagues are everywhere. We went to go look for a little league. I made it my duty to find a little league for my sons to play because I didn't want my sons to be subject to just playing football and baseball. The first sport I ever put them in was soccer. The next sport I said is they're gonna play baseball. I told them when they get to high school, that's when they can choose if they want to play football or basketball. That's on them.
Right.
But my duty was to make sure that they played something else besides those two sports, because it seems as if society is making it seem as if like black kids can only play basketball or football, and
it's not true. Far from
it's not true at all. Like if you think about it, if you think about the history of just baseball, like you said, guys like Josh Gibson, guys like Hank Aaron, guys like Jackie Robinson, Ken Griffey Jr., Ken Griffey Sr., Kenny Lofton. I mean, it's a Barry Bonds, it's a bunch of
Willie
black
Mays.
names in baseball. It's just the fact that I think that once the NFL start getting this this high praise that everybody wanted to put their kid in football. My thing was, if my kid made it in baseball, I knew that he would be great forever because baseball is the only sport where everybody has guaranteed contracts. I don't care what the contract is, everybody has guaranteed contracts.
They got a great players union, man.
Yeah, they got to. I mean, like, there's
Mhm.
nothing. Those players, like, you think the NBA runs that league? No, the MLB runs their league.
The players.
There's nothing that those
Absolutely.
Yeah.
teams do when if the players decide today that they're going to boycott and say I'm not going to play. There's nothing the owners can do. You know what I mean? Like the MLB really gets it, and that's why they started going to places like the Dominican Republic and outside of that, because really baseball is the only sport to where black players and white players can get along, and there's really no issue. Because at the end of the day, you don't know who you're going to be lined up with in the next game. You don't even know if you're going to play in the next game. All you know is that when they call you up, it's time to go.
That's right.
That's it. That's all. And the stars are the stars for a reason. The stars are the stars because those are the guys that produce. So as long as you're getting hits or as long as you're pitching, nobody gives a fuck what color you are,
Not what you wear.
how high, how tall you are, big you are, whatever. It's as long as you produce, that's it. That's all. And to me, baseball is one of those sports to where as long as you produce, that's it. That's all. Everything is equal. It's all on the equal playing field.
Cool deal. All right. Well, we're gonna have
Cool.
to jump ship, but before I jump ship, man, everybody keeps forgetting to mention Bo Jackson, man. I know it was short, but Bo Jackson.
Don't
Yeah.
mention Bo Jackson. That's cheating. He's a
Yeah.
cyborg.
Yeah.
But,
And
You
he
got-
wasn't like the best ever at baseball. He was good.
Yeah, that's like talking about Deion Sanders. They don't count, man. They cyborgs.
Yeah.
but on to a little bit of more serious stuff, man. Like it was supposed to be the All-Star game in Atlanta. They moved it out of Atlanta because of the voting law that they're trying to get passed down there. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on. Will Smith and I forget Anthony Fuqua. I forget how to say his name, but you know they're trying
Fuqua.
to pull their
Fuqua.
movie.
Fuqua.
Yeah. They're trying to pull their movie out of Atlanta. They end up moving the game, but like when you focus in on that law, like you know, they're trying to maneuver their way around the 15th Amendment, right? The Voting Rights Act, and it's just like they're trying to say. I mean, basically, they're trying to make it to give people food and water. They're standing in the line when they go vote. They're trying to say that that's illegal now, and what the problem with that is the fact of what they're doing with voter suppression is they are taking a lot of the voting places out and they're primarily in the black communities. And what that does is that makes it longer lines for people who already, like, if they do work, like, they can't really miss work, or it's a situation where, it's appointed times that they could go. So when there's someone that's out there giving people water and food and stuff like this, it keeps them more motivated to vote. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to put people in situations where they're not motivated to vote. So this is really more than a baseball issue. It's just the fact that baseball stepped up and was like, yo, we're gonna pretty much like the first in line to be like, yo, we don't agree with what this law is down here. So we're gonna move the baseball game, well, the All-Star game out of Atlanta. So let's start with Sinclair, man. Like, what are your thoughts on them trying to make it illegal things when people are voting?
Well, my thing about it is that like it's a touchy subject for the simple fact is that like a lot of people sit there and say is like, oh well, the only thing you need to do is have your license and stuff and voter registration card to go ahead and do it. But that's like from us coming from where we are and like going to primarily white neighborhoods and stuff like that. Because every time that I had to go vote, I always had my ID and my voter card. But whenever I was in Tennessee and we had to vote and stuff, I had to send my my absentee voter thing, and like I had to go and prove that I was in the University of Tennessee at the time and I couldn't come home to vote. And so I had to prove to them that, I was doing that one. So like I'm trying to figure out like how a lot of people are saying is like they getting other people to not illegals and stuff to vote and everything along those lines. But that's coming from one party. And like they're saying, but like they're trying not to get political or anything along those lines. It seems like one party is doing all they can to do to try to stop another party or another group of people to try to exercise their right to vote. I personally believe that like if you can sit up there and as long as it's legally inside the documentations, everything is the voting laws and everything. If you can require, you know, if, let's say if you have a barn or something, like how they have those fireworks stands and stuff, like they pop up on the side of the corner every year. We don't sit there and question those fireworks stands when it comes to like 4th of July and New Year's. We don't question where they get their fireworks and stuff, and we assume that is correct and everything. But like if you sit up there and if you have someone like Stacey Abrams who was cheated out of her governorship, but end up just sitting up there playing the game and got more people more motivated to go ahead and vote, and yet they're changing the laws and stuff because of her hard work. I think there's a problem with that. And the reason why I say that is because it's like you're sitting up there and you're sitting there basically saying it's like, okay, well, since somebody give me, you know, like some water or something outside of a voting thing, that's of preferable treatment. And I think that like it's kind of like BS to sit up there and say that because I mean, again, like you're sitting up here, you're closing all of the polling locations that where people can go in and vote and there's no line or anything along those lines. You're trying to make it cramming up to where, you know, like a lot of people got to stand in line for a certain amount of time. And also you're just making it to where it's more difficult for people to go ahead and do it. And then on top of that, we're coming off a pandemic. With that, well, we're still in the pandemic of where like you know a lot of people are losing their lives trying to exercise their right to vote. I mean, like we're working from home now because of how serious this thing is. And like I didn't think it was that serious. I may not believe it's that serious or whatever, but I'm saying like with my father's business and how he's picking up and all that stuff, something's out here killing these people. I'm not sitting up here listening to like one news outlet over another. I'm sitting up here looking at real life issues that like our business has literally tripled since this time 2 years ago. It literally has tripled. So it's like something that's killing these people. I don't know what it is. I don't want to catch it or anything along those lines. So I'm taking every precaution and everything. But that's what I'm saying is like if you have the mail-in voting now, like you're trying to limit the mailing times to do it. Then you have your your postmaster general at the time sits up there and tells the American public that he's going to purposely delay the mail-in ballots and stuff. Then you have one president sitting there saying is like their votes and stuff shouldn't be counted, and another president says like, okay, well, another candidate says that you know their stuff should be illegal, all this other stuff. It leaves confusion for the everyday voter to go ahead and focus on stuff that they need to go ahead and do and prepare themselves in order to vote and exercise their right to vote. So my thing about it is that like a lot of people sit up there and say that you know it's a crime how like the Democrats are basically like trying to steal the election from other people and all that stuff. But my thing is like if that's the case, then if that's the case, if you want to be represented in America, you should let everybody vote. Everybody get a chance to vote. Everybody that's a legal citizen should get a chance to vote. You shouldn't sit up there and make it harder for people to try to vote. That's my only issue about it.
All right, what you got, Dustin?
Hi. Before I get started, I know I'll probably get plenty of ammo to get back. First, I want to address MLB. Uh, it's one of the most black populated cities in the country, and you took anywhere from $50 to $100 million from the locally owned businesses by moving the All-Star game. Just a virtue signal. I promise you, MLB don't care about nothing that is social justice. They're corporate. They're just as corporate as anybody else, and they do not care. And the only reason they did it was just a virtue signal. Hey, we care. You know, we care. We're going to move the game. Do they really care? You took money out of actual people who struggle every day that live paycheck to paycheck. That's my first issue with it. And trust me, I know, man. I'm gonna tell a little story. I'm sorry. I know you might have to make this into 2 episodes, Sean. We used to go. We still go to Braves games every year, but we went in 90, 91, 92. My dad, in 90, the Braves finished last. And my dad bought season or playoff tickets the next year in advance because they were dirt cheap. Thinking they're not going to make it. They went from worst to first in 91. That's when it blew up, man. Braves hysteria blew up. And we would go down there for playoff games, for regular season. We would go to the same vendor. Her name was Angel. She had fingernails that damn curled around 2 times. It was amazing. But we would always, we'd always buy something from her. And I'm sure, the whole street, man, Martin Luther King Boulevard was full. Full. Y'all can't see me out here. I'm talking with my hands. It was full of vendors. It was amazing. Amazing. I just got goosebumps talking about it. And that won't happen. That won't happen now because of this. It'll go to Colorado, where how many black people live in Colorado? Yeah.
Surprisingly, a lot
Yeah.
because there's weed up there.
Look, the
Yeah,
dudes on
that
the
might be.
NBA
I hear you.
Yeah.
But really, it was just a virtue signal, and it was quick. It was quick, man. They discussed it with like 45 players out of 100 out of the players union. It wasn't even a full get together. Rob Manfred, the commissioner, he made that decision quick. They were the first company to go, and Coca-Cola probably hollered at them. Hey, we sponsor with y'all. Y'all need to, it's all about money with them. And so
Yeah, and that's the point about it. Is like, but yeah, that's the whole point about it. Is like they got pressure about the money. They're losing money on it. And like you said, anything that's going on, you're going to have something that have money behind it and all this stuff. But the reason why they did it is because of how Stacey Abrams won her election, and because then you see how like now they're sitting up there. Well, the Republican Party is sitting up there talking about how like the election was illegitimate. So if the election was illegitimate, that means Lindsey Graham's his Senate seat is illegitimate. Dang on Rand or not Rand Paul, but Tom Cruise, his Senate seat is illegal and all this stuff as well too. So you can't sit up there and say like one race is illegal and the other race isn't.
Hey, I'm not even getting to the voting yet. Hold on. This is just my problem with baseball. My problem with baseball is that they acted so quick without discussing with the entire players union, without a vote, without due process, honestly, without. There's over 1,000 players in the MLB, and they didn't discuss it. It was like, boom, gone. It was not the American way, as I say, as a Democratic. And Jason Hayward's one of the leading voices in the players union. The other problem, I'll say, with the water is you can't be wearing like a Biden or a Trump or a Cruz or a AOC shirt and giving water to people. It doesn't mean you can't bring your own, or there can't be water sitting out, you can grab it. It's just you can't be solicited by another party, just like we have here. We have the same laws here where we can't be solicited. You can't be sitting within 150 feet of a voting place.
Of a voting booth with the campaign shirt on.
Correct. That's all that water law is. Stacey Abrams was amazing. And at getting the votes. But Georgia voted, the black population in Georgia voted at a much higher percentage than the rest of the country. And you can't, I just feel like you can't really have it both ways, where it's, are they being suppressed, or are they being, where they voted at the highest, percentage, of black population. Mostly because of Stacey Abrams, because she got out and voiced her opinion, and she got after it.
But Dustin, I think the reason why they're sitting up there doing it is because it's all Republican control. Like there wasn't a Democrat that signed that bill, or there wasn't even a filibuster behind it. They was behind locked doors. A Republican governor signed that bill and put it into law without any discussion on the other part. That's the problem where they say that the suppression comes from.
And I hear that, and I don't want to talk on something I don't know what happened behind closed doors. I know that Georgia is a Republican state, generally. Even with the large black population, it's generally, and there's only a few Democrats, even white or black, it doesn't matter. There's only a few Democrats that are elected down there. So it wasn't even, I get it, it wasn't even a concern, but it's like our federal government now, where it's all Democratic.
Yeah.
And it's, how far left are they? But anyway.
But no, but before you move to your point, I want to sit there and say something else as
ahead.
well too. It's like with that one, it was like, you have the one person who went up there to try to challenge the governor for signing that bill. She got more time than people to sit up there storming the Capitol in jail, in federal jail, for them storming the Capitol. So I mean, like without him doing that, or either one of them doing that, like you should have stood up there and had like some sort of representation from both parties, both sides of the party. Whenever that bill was made and created, it was not for both sides. Like there wasn't no back and forth between each other to try to do it. It was just one side said, "All right, I want this to happen, so therefore this stuff will happen again, or this election or thing like this will never happen again. So therefore, we're going to make it difficult. We're going to shut down these precincts and stuff to where the majority of the black people are in Atlanta, is where they voted from, and they end up causing them to lose the race.
Right. Yeah, and I don't disagree. For one, everything should be discussed by party. Everything. Two, voting day should be a national holiday.
I agree.
Solve most of the issues that they're talking about.
I agree.
That would solve most of them. Because I promise, I don't care if somebody's wearing Biden or dang Saddam Hussein. I'm gonna take a water if I'm thirsty. We had to wait 2 hours to vote this year. I mean, we live in Chesney, man. It's tiny, tiny town with one voting place. So it wasn't. We waited forever, but so I would take a water from whoever. But I think the voting holiday would change a lot, and everything again should be voted bilaterally and on things I don't know about. I don't want to talk about. So I don't know. I just know with the MLB, I think they ostracized a lot of the black community. Even Stacey Abrams is upset about it. She's upset about the All-Star game moving. And it's just something they got. I just wish sometimes companies would stick to not companies, but MLB would just stick to baseball.
But
they don't
question.
know. Go ahead.
Quick question though. It's like, well, how do you feel how they move with the Braves? Because I know you're a big Braves fan, and the Braves originally was in the heart of Atlanta, basically like where the hood was. But now they moved it up to the suburbs to where like a lot of people can't go to.
I hate it.
So that's what I'm saying. Is like if they sit up there and do all that stuff, what makes you think that like it's beneficial towards black people anyway? Because they're not getting the thing anyway, because they literally moved the team out of heart of Atlanta to like the suburbs.
Hey, that's
where it makes it harder for black people to get up there.
That's the best argument I heard, man. That's a good one. I mean, there's still black people around the baseball field. I've been there numerous times, but it's not like the old community. And so you're right. That might make a difference. But still, you're taking money from some of the black community. Either way, I mean I think that's part of the argument, because some arguments are 23 million to 100 million, and I think the argument is, if it's all in the black community, it'd be 100. It might be 100 million, but not everybody now where the ball field is, because of what you said, it ain't going to be that. It wouldn't be that.
Gotcha.
What you got, Scoop?
I honestly feel like, okay, so I'm super neutral on this, right? I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm an independent. I have been ever since I got the first chance to ever vote. I think that as far as moving the All-Star game, I'm with Dustin on that. I don't think that they should have ever moved it out of Atlanta. He made a great point when he said that they're moving millions of dollars out of black businesses' mouths, right? They're moving millions of dollars out of black businesses' pockets. Atlanta is one of the most thriving, if not the most thriving, black community that we have in the country. Everybody's going there. Film companies are going there. A lot of shit is being filmed in Atlanta right now. So this is probably one of the most booming towns, and pretty much has always been the most booming town for Black America. I think as far as the bill goes, as far as them suppressing votes, this is just another stepping stone as to what they've been doing to us as black people in America since the inception of this country. They're going to do whatever it takes, especially as long as they're in power. Regardless, to me, I feel like if it's Republican or Democrat, they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that black people are going to vote a certain way. They're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that if black people do vote a certain way, that way is going to be the hardest way to vote. There's no secret that black people have had it the hardest in this country since the inception, and even before the inception, right? I also feel like at the same time, moving the All-Star game is not the solution. Moving the All-Star game is not going to affect anything that happens in the South, right? Moving it from Atlanta to Colorado, you know what I'm saying, like Dustin said, is not helping. I think that keeping it in the South and using the All-Star game to create a platform for people to speak about what's going on is actually the solution, right? So if you keep the All-Star game in Atlanta and you have people speak during the All-Star game and you have people bring up the issue during the All-Star game, this is something that is televised on national television. This is something that is not just a day. This is something that's like just like All-Star Weekend in the NBA. It's a weekend, right? So you got home run derby
game of the year, probably.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? This is something that can be used as a platform for people to let others know that don't know around the world, including I guess you would say the majority of the country, because the majority of the country will be white Caucasian people. So this is a chance to let them know, hey, Atlanta is, or Georgia is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, right? By suppressing the vote of American citizens, not just black people, not just people in the or not just brown people, people in inner cities or poor communities, because it's not just black people that's being affected. Because it's not just black people that live in these situations. There's other people that live in these situations. So the people who are disenfranchised, the people who are poor, are not just black people. We have to stop putting that face on black people. We have to actually bring this into context and make sure that everybody knows that there's more than just black people that are poor. There's more than just black people that are disenfranchised. So when we bring this to the All-Star game and we talk about this the same way the NBA did when they did in the bubble, when they started talking about Black Lives Matter, when they put people's names on the back of their jerseys and they start putting equality and all those other words on the back of the jerseys, that brought attention to the matter at hand, and bringing that into things like what's going on currently with the Derek Chauvin trial. I'm not sure if we're going to get in that or not, but bringing that into what's going on with the Derek Chauvin trial, you see that it's actually making a difference, because now America is actually seeing what's going on. And if you bring something like baseball that particularly is marketed towards older white males or just white males in general, that's something that they can get a chance to see what's actually going on. Bringing it to Colorado and dismissing the situation is not going to help. Because now it's just, oh, they took the All-Star game out of Georgia because they didn't like the bill. So now that people that are on the Republican side are going to see, oh, well, that gives them a reason to say, well, they just don't like baseball, or they just don't like such and such. It gives them an excuse. Let me say that. It gives them an excuse.
But here's the
Keep
thing,
it.
though, is that like
Go ahead.
the NBA did the same thing whenever they had an All-Star game in Charlotte because of the
Mhm.
gender bill that they had up there.
Right.
They ain't going. South Carolina, the NCAA just now allowing South Carolina to have bowl games and tournaments
Mhm.
because they took down the rebel flag.
Right.
But I mean, like, this always been the issue to where, like, stuff like that shouldn't happen and everything on those lines. But you said that they're moving money from, like, the MLB is moving money from the black community and everything along those lines. The MLB honestly, they didn't do that. The Atlanta Braves did that for the simple fact they moved the Atlanta Braves from the black community that it was in to the white suburb community that they're serving now. And now, since they're serving that in the white community, whatever, the only thing they're hurting is that business that's around there, those white businesses that are around there. They're not even really hurting the black community as you would say or think they're doing. So
Okay, so
go ahead.
So my rebuttal to that would be this, right? Yeah, they moved the stadium to a suburb, right? A lot of stadiums are in suburbs, but when you go to Atlanta, having been to Atlanta a couple times myself because my family's from around those parts, having been to Atlanta and going to certain things, yeah, you going to the stadium in the suburb of Atlanta, but you're not gonna party around where the suburb is. Right? Atlanta is a big place. There's East Atlanta, West Atlanta. It's a huge place. The parties that's going to be happening, the stuff that's going to happen, the events that's going to happen outside of the All-Star games are going to happen in the places outside of where that stadium is. So when he says that they're bringing hundreds of millions and removing that from Atlanta, he means that. Like, there's a reason for him saying that, because it's not going to be the hot to trot spot to go to that's next to the stadium. They're going to the stadium for the games. They're going to the stadium for the home run derbies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's what I'm saying is that, like, you're sitting up there saying is like they're losing the money and stuff from that. But with what I'm saying is that, like, you're saying you're focusing basically like the Braves and stuff of how they're moved into the one thing. Like, I understand, like, they have parties and stuff all over Atlanta. Like, I literally just came from Atlanta last weekend with one of my friends' little vow renewal and stuff like that. But we were literally right outside of Georgia Tech. And like, if you haven't been there, like, it's literally looks out of place because it's a nice campus like Clemson.
That's right in the hood.
Yeah, but it's like right in the smack of the hood of Atlanta and stuff like that. But you never really look at it unless you like unless you're really paying attention, because it looks so out of place. But what I'm just saying is that, like, literally, it's like you were sitting up there saying, like, because we're using like the words and the terms of black dollars and stuff like that are losing them, but my thing about it is that, like, the black dollars already left whenever you decide to move your team to another situation where black people cannot enjoy that game. And, like, that brings us back to our other point that we were discussing earlier, is that, like, you can't sit up there and have, like, minorities try to go into those games because 9 times out of 10 they don't have transportation. Like, you had the MARTA system, you had the bus system, and you had the like taxis and well, you probably can get the taxi and the Uber and stuff like that, but it's costing you a fortune. But there are ways and means to get to that stadium. Now, like, now to where it is now, unless you have a family or wealthy family, or you're of cause that you can go to that stadium, like, it's like, from where you're coming from, because, like, some parts of Atlanta is horrible, honestly, and
that's
like
true.
they don't have the money to go to see the games or anything along those lines. So therefore, you're not going to have those people that's there. So, like, you're basically limiting people who can come there, support your team, and also get buy your merchandise and try to go to your game. By sitting up there segmenting yourself from one part of Atlanta, make it something so easily accessible as it was that baseball stadium, to now you sitting there moving into another part to where people can't get to it. And now you're wondering why, like, some people, why the downfall of accessibility to baseball is going now, is for the simple fact you're making it harder for them to do. Just same thing like it is with the voting. You making it much harder than what it really has to be in order for you to vote, in order for you to sit there and go to a game. And that's my only issue about it.
Okay, so I think that you know what I'm saying, once again, like I said earlier, like, we have this image that, you know what I'm saying, that black people are the face of poor, right? But when you go to Atlanta, and regardless of what area of Atlanta you go to, there's prominent black people everywhere in Atlanta. That's why Atlanta is the place for. That's why everybody's migrating towards Atlanta. We've heard of the great migrations of, you know what I'm saying, the Midwest, the West, the North, of everything else leaving out of Jim Crow South, right? Right now the great migration is everybody's going to Atlanta. Every black prominent name or anybody that's black that's going with money or whatever is in Atlanta. I have a lot of family in Atlanta, and I talk to them a lot, and they let me know, like, hey, come to Atlanta. They're telling me right now, come to Atlanta. I got a family in Texas that said, hey, come to Dallas, come to Austin. So
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, even though they moved the stadium to the suburbs, right? I don't care where you are in the All-Star game. There's no parties that everybody's going to that's going to be held in the suburbs. Nobody's going to the suburbs to party. Nobody's going to the suburbs to experience the culture. Nobody's going to do that. Even T.I. lives in the suburb, right? But I guarantee you, T.I. is never in the suburb when he's going to party. T.I. is never in the suburb when he's going to hold a function or anything like that. They're always going to be in the hood. So regardless if the stadium is in the hood, regardless if the stadium is in the suburb, everything else outside of that suburb is going to be in the hood. Everything else is going to be there, right? So you're saying that people don't have the transportation or anything else to get there. I understand that. That's across the board as far as anybody who can afford to get to a stadium. That's white, black, Latino, whatever. I think that the fact of the matter is that the point that we're missing is that the MLB had a chance to create a platform just as much as the NBA did, like I said before, is to reveal the wrongdoing of this politician or these politicians who did what they did. The All-Star game could have been a platform for people to speak up and inform the rest of the country on what has happened in Georgia. Now, the rest of the country can't decide what goes on in Georgia, but they can have an effect on what goes on in Georgia, because now you have other politicians, you have other people of other states that can bring up the issue, that can talk about the issue. And we all know, once people get to talking about the issue, once it hits Twitter, it's a problem.
True.
And everybody can help make a change.
Yeah, true. But what we also, the point that we're also missing as well too, is that it's a private institution. All these things that we're talking about is private institutions. So MLB, NBA, NCAA are private institutions. And like there's something they're just saying is like they can move it to wherever they want to, regardless of how either one of us feel. So
Right.
I mean, like my thing about it is that like yeah, like I see why I agree with your point. I see what you're talking about as far as like, they're cutting off the livelihood of some people who were making it, especially after this pandemic, with what's going on and everything, and like how they're cutting out all the parties and all this stuff. And
but also the platform. Don't forget the platform. Don't forget the platform that it gave for people to actually speak up.
To be honest with you, I don't think anybody's gonna be in a platform to do it, because I mean, like, to be honest with you, like, I think they're gonna go by honoring Hank Aaron. And like you gonna go by honoring Hank Aaron, that's probably be a good thing or whatever. But like,
well, that's the easy way out that they're gonna take in Colorado.
Yeah, that's gonna be the easy way they're gonna take out in Colorado. They're probably gonna do it as well as Milwaukee and all this stuff now, since there's a whole Derek Shaw and that other dude is that got killed. I can't think, Dante Wright, I think his name was.
Yep.
We ended up getting killed the other day or whatever. But I mean, like, those issues, and I guess what COVID is, what COVID causes us to slow down and like look at those issues as far as the human issue, instead of like, bypassing and going to the next event and the next thing now. But now, since the world is picking back up, I believe that we're going to start going back into the whole thing of where we're not even taking the second to think about what's going on, like how it was last year with George Floyd.
Right. Real quick, Sean, before you go, I agree with you wholly. But the point that I really want to drive is, because you said, they're going to take it out. They're going to go to Colorado. They're going to, honor Hank Aaron. They're going to do their best to, make sure that they cover themselves and cover all bases, no pun intended. But I feel like if they would have kept it in Atlanta and they'd used that, when I say platform, I mean that using the home run derby, using the All-Star game to speak up on what happened, that would have really gave a chance for not just the MLB, but the players of the MLB who are or people of the MLB who look like those that are affected. That would have gave them a chance to really start to make a change, or at least help make a change. Because like I said, when you go look at the NBA and what the NBA did, and you look at what the WNBA did on top of that, all year long we had to watch, or all playoffs long we had to watch a court that said Black Lives Matter. So even if for a weekend we had to watch a field that says stop voter suppression, or whatever whatever they would have came up with, that would have at least started a fire, or started a kindle to help make a change.
But the thing is, they still can't do the same
All
thing.
right.
They still can sit there and have that information spread out on the MLB fields and stuff like that. But I highly doubt that's going to happen. They're going to notify.
Yeah.
Again, it's like I'm pretty sure like they made a decision because they were losing money.
Okay.
To be honest with you, that's the reason why I think they moved that game. And like,
Yeah, well, the money part, yeah, I agree.
yeah.
All right, Dustin. In a minute, what's your rebuttal? I give you a minute to rebuttal, and then we got to move.
Hey, I don't have much of a rebuttal. There's a lot of that in there. I don't have much of. Not that I don't have an opinion on it, but Scoots covered a lot. I agree with him. I was gonna say vendors is a large part, man, and I promise in that area there's no rich white folks doing vendors. It's poor people, poor white folks, poor black folks doing vendors. But even that's been limited again by government because of taxes and all kinds of other crap, and we'll have to get into that some other time. But I mean, 95% of the Braves stadium staff, like the music, the vendors inside the stadium, it's all the black community that travel 15 20 minutes from downtown to get there and go to work every day during the summer, during baseball season. So it's not that it's a super long trip, but other than that, there's a lot of stuff that to unpack in that they covered. So I'll let them.
I got you. Cool. So Deshaun Watson, man, there's I spoke on it before. It's a lot of smoke screens going around. I just saw another massage therapist came out, and she was like, I was never had any sexual advances come towards me. And some people feel it's a smear campaign. Some people feel that some of it may be true, some of it, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of opinions that are going around about Deshaun Watson. I have spoken about it. So let's start with Scoots, man. Like what are some of your things, man, that's going around this Deshaun Watson thing, man?
I'm gonna ignore Sinclair Cannon right now, with the disrespect that he just put on his screen. Not gonna lie to you, man. I hope you drop that cup eventually, just like most of the receivers dropped the ball. Anyway, so hey man, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm kind of on Deshaun's side on this one. If you look at the story from the beginning, Deshaun Watson, he wanted out at first. They said they didn't want to let him go. Then they let go of JJ Watt. They let him fly free and do whatever he wanted to do. And then Dak Prescott gets this new contract that he's been clamoring for forever. Then Deshaun Watson says that, if he's going to stay, he wants to restructure his contract as well, or he wants more money. And then next thing you know, we started getting sexual allegations out of nowhere. It's to my knowledge, it's to my knowledge of what I've read that the women who've claimed or made the allegations towards him as far as the sexual harassment, their lawyer is like the next door neighbor of the owner of the Texans or something like that. So I mean, to me, everything looks fishy. It's just surprising just how all of a sudden he has all of these allegations when he wants out of Houston, he wants to get traded, and then all of a sudden he can't get traded, so he just decides he wants more money. Um, it To me, everything is just fishy, man. It's something about this that I can't put my finger on yet, but I'm sure that eventually, in the end, all of this is just going to be, it's going to be a smear campaign.
What you got, Sam?
To be honest with you, like at first I thought it was fake. Like a smear campaign, basically like with the Texans owner and stuff like that. But once it starts getting to 15, 20, now 22, like I'm trying to think of it, and then like how he did it makes me kind of second guess. Well, makes me kind of think maybe they are telling the truth. The reason why I say that is because like I had the privilege of being around some people who's been in the NFL, and like what they end up doing every time that we always get like after games and stuff, they will get a massage, or the next day they get a massage, anything along those lines. Those massages they come from the team. They're vetted out, and they also have people around them to make sure that nothing else is going on. So like one of my best friends, he played for the Buccaneers or so, and like every time that we would go there like before, like he would get his massage the Saturday before the game. So like we will all go around. He will have his massage therapist come to his house. He would literally have me out. If I was there, it would be me, his wife, and like another one of his homeboys, and like his mom or somebody. He would get his massage right there in the middle of the living room where everybody else can see. So therefore there wouldn't be no ifs ands or buts about what's going on and stuff like that. So that got me thinking is like how he was doing it is like talking about something like how you got to sign an NDA to do it, and like how nobody can be around you whenever I get my massage or anything along those lines, and how he's reaching out to Instagram models or Instagram people and not going through the team or someone else that he knows and trusts, and him not even protecting himself by having somebody else as a witness makes me think that maybe he did do something. And that's my stance on it. So like I hope that's not the case, because I know he's a talented player, and he's he's a talented player, and to me he seems like he's a good morally kid, because I've never met him or anything along those lines. But again, it's like some of the things that he's doing and the way that he's been moving or whatever makes me think that it's kind of a serious deal, and especially like the lame statement that his defense put out kind of makes me think that like he's probably in the or there's probably a lot more to the story that we don't know.
All right, Dustin, we've been trying to get into it for a while, man. What you got?
So Sinclair actually brought some details to light. I mean, obviously, since he's been around other NFL athletes, but obviously there's things we don't know. We don't know. I mean, for one, he's a man, and I know how men think. As a general, just everyday biological, how men think. I'm sure that Deshaun was attracted to him. I'm sure there was flirting going on both ways. I don't know, but I'm just assuming based on what I know from what I see every day from men and women. I'm sure, especially with a man who is a superstar that has money. I don't want to get into conspiracies. I don't know. I know supposedly that lawyers is the coaches or the owner's next door neighbor, all that. But just from what I saw, now I don't know Deshaun personally. I know how he was with his mama. I seen him up close. No daddy to speak of, but how he was with the women in his life, and how other men talk about him. And not even that, even the media is treating him well, because every encounter has been just, the only other case we can compare it to, if he's guilty, is Bill Cosby, where everybody loved Bill, and nobody knew anything for a long time. Who didn't love Bill Cosby? I would still watch the dang Cosby Show if they even played it on TV.
But Dustin, I was just thinking about something when you brought Bill Cosby about it. But like the more relevant thing is kind of, I would say, like O.J. Simpson, because how like before the whole Cole Brown and him killing those people allegedly, like they say that he was charming and did well in the media and everybody loved him and wouldn't think anything about it.
Right.
It could be the same case with Deshaun as well too. But again, like I don't know his case. I haven't been around him or anything to know.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. I'm not gonna sit here and give 100% positives. I'm leaning more towards that some things happen. I would think it was consensual based on what I know of him. That doesn't mean I've been wrong before. I'm sure I'll be wrong again. So, but only they know what's happened. I know Deshaun's lawyers got like 15 people who said they never had any problem, and then there's 20 from the other side, and it's just crazy. And so I don't know. I don't think it'll ever go to legal. I think it'll all be civil court. It'll be trying to get money, and they'll probably win. Honestly, he'll probably have to throw out a couple $1 million. Honestly, to get rid of it.
Man, listen. First off, both of y'all wrong. Bill Cosby never did it. I don't care what anybody says. Let's go ahead and stop talking about Bill Cosby, because Bill Cosby's innocent. It was the 70s. Everybody took Quaaludes. We already know how the 70s was. Richard Pryor told us on his special. So we're not going to disrespect my man Bill Cosby like that, okay? The Cos did what he did. It's cool, but they was with it. So they all wanted money from the Cos. He was a billionaire before he went to jail. He tried to buy NBC. We know these facts, man. But on a serious note, with Deshaun Watson, man, I think it's interesting that Sinclair brought a great point, is that a lot of these people were Instagram models or whatnot. I think a lot of the story is not being told about that the fact that he has a girlfriend that has kind of become his fiance. Or, well, I can't say kind of, but has become his fiance, and she's also an Instagram model. She's all over Instagram, everything else. I follow her personally. I followed her before she even got with Deshaun. She was with a basketball player before that. I was heartbroken when I found out that she even got with Deshaun Watson, because I lost my chance. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that the truth of the matter is that we've heard a lot of bad things about the Texans owner, right? When all the players were kneeling, it came out that he said that, we can't let the inmates run the jail. You know what I mean? For him to even use that analogy lets us know where his mindset is in the first place. I think that it's not far beyond him to kind of put someone in their place by saying, okay, we don't want to let you go. We're not going to trade you. You're basically in this contract until we tell you, or until the end of this contract, as long as we say so. And I think that this is pretty much just a power trip move, because out of the 22 people that have been brought up, one of them just recently rescinded their input on everything that's been going on because of so-called security and in personal concerns. And then not only that, a lot of the women that were coming forward, their names weren't even allowed to be mentioned in the lawsuit. But now that the defense, which is of course Deshaun Watson, he pretty much said that, hey, we want to see these names, we want to see who's saying what. And now that everything's happening, I think that a lot more of these women that are so-called coming forward are going to be getting rescinded because of because I think that this is all fake. I think that this is all just a way that the Texans owner is using to pretty much put Deshaun in his place. They're not going to trade him because that's the best thing that they have on their team. We all know that. We all know that he was never going to be up for trade. We all know that even if they let him out of his contract, what else did they have? What else could they use to fight for any kind of contention in their conference or even in the NFL for that matter? I think this is pretty much just a smear campaign. I know that it's not really a lot of evidence to prove that, but it just seems as if, and I'm going on conspiracy theory here. I'm just riding with conspiracy theory because to me, it all just makes sense. A guy wants out, he can't get out. Then he says, well, if I can't get out, I want more money. They don't want to pay him the money. Bob McNair is definitely not going to give him more money after he just gave him the contract. And at the time that Deshaun got that contract, that was one of the biggest contracts that was even had by a quarterback. So pretty much, I feel like Bob McNair is just using all this to say, hey, I'm gonna knock you down a peg. You know what I'm saying? After the year Deshaun Watson just had, he led the league in receiving with pretty much no receivers. And so going into this free agency, he would have been a major pickup. Everybody would have pretty much went to go get him. I don't care what you would have offered him. It would have been worth it because of him, because of the season he just had. And then he's just due to pretty much get more money because after leading the league in receiving and then, doing what he did with pretty much nobody to throw to, I mean, how can you not give this guy more money? So Bob McNair is pretty much saving face. He's using whatever he can to pretty much knock down Deshaun Watson a peg. I mean, we've seen this happen with Michael Vick. Michael Vick was in a hot seat, and then next thing you know, it all fizzles out because of some dog allegations or something like that. And now he's coming back to the Philadelphia Eagles for less than a quarter of what he was worth. And then he goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers to be a backup to Ben Roethlisberger. Come on, man. Let's really be honest and talk about the situation here. It's just the fact that black quarterbacks are finally becoming prominent in the league. They're finally getting a voice. We got Russell Wilson. We got Lamar Jackson and all the rest of these guys actually getting a chance to actually show people that for a change ever since the 100 years in this league, that black quarterbacks can actually take control of the team. They can actually be the face of the team, and nobody has an issue with it. Bob McNair is, to me, from that old school thought, and he just doesn't want it to happen. And I think that he's behind this somehow, even if they can't connect him directly. There's some link somehow that connects him to all of this that's going on.
Here's the thing, the where I was saying up there, and I kind of disagree with you on as well too. It's like, well, because like I had one of my good friends who played for the Texas organization as well. He was the running back, Arian Foster. He would play with them as well too. He told me about the.
Hold on, you cool with Arian Foster?
Yeah, that's my homeboy.
I love his podcast. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I love his podcast,
so he's
bro.
Pretty cool dude. But yeah, like we were sitting there talking with him and all that stuff. Yeah, the owner and all that stuff. Well, he's dead now, but he was racist and everything along those lines. The owner that they have now is the son. His name is Kyle, but he said that he was basically an idiot. He doesn't know anything about it, anything along those lines. But like the other son is supposed to be the one who's supposed to be running it, but like they figured that he couldn't mess up the money with football, so they gave it to the other son. But anyway, to go back to what we were saying is that like with your example of Mike Vick, of how he did with the dogs thing about it, it was proven that Mike Vick did all this stuff with the dogs. So I mean, like with him, like he
was it Mike Vick or was it the people at Mike Vick's house?
But I mean, like it was his house. Yeah, it was people at his house and all this stuff.
Right. So Mike Vick was innocent.
How was he innocent?
He didn't necessarily do it.
he doesn't necessarily do it, but I mean, like, you sitting up there funding the whole situation. You funding the dog, or the Bad News Kennels. You funding it. You have the house, and it's your house and everything along those lines. I understand that you may not know what's going on in your house because you're out of the thing along this line. Well, you probably in another house or anything along those lines, but that's your house that you're supposed to keep low key or something along those lines. So how do you not know what's going on in your house? Is
the same way a landlord can't know what's going on to the people he rent to.
True, I guess, but I mean, like, if you're going to that one and like your wife is sitting there telling you that's where you hang out all the time, I'm pretty sure something else is going on. But that's what his wife said. But that's but that's a whole different podcast that we can get into as well too. But like, my thing about it is like with his situation, like, well, with going back to what I was saying with Deshaun Watson or so, is that like you're gonna sit up there and like being a high profile athlete, it comes with this, I don't want to say arrogance, but it comes with this feeling that you can get any and everything that you want for the most part, because people worship the ground you walk on, stuff like that. I mean, like, I wasn't a bigger star as he was, but like up in Tennessee or whatever, like since we were on the football team, honestly, we could do whatever we want to with any type of girl we wanted to, honestly. So I'm pretty sure that he.
But it was that. But knowing what you just said, right? It was always at their consent, right?
It was always at their consent, yeah.
Right, because they were willing to give themselves to you, knowing that you were at the time you were in college. So no disrespect when I say this, but knowing you were potential towards more money, right?
Exactly.
Right, and we just seen this same thing happen with Antonio Brown.
Yeah, with Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown sitting up there messing himself up by sitting up there doing the same thing whenever he was cleared of it. He's still up there and still reached out to the person who he attended to assault them again. So he does stupid stuff in his own self. But
he was never guilty of what they said though.
He told on himself. That's the reason why the Patriots cut him.
The Patriots cut him on allegations.
And
he was cut before he even said anything like that.
No, he was cut for him replying back to that girl who sat up there and put those allegations to it. And he sat up there and text her phone. That's the reason why he was cut.
But why would he text her phone though?
That's the stupid part on this thing. I can't answer that. I don't know why he would do it. But that's something that's on his conscience of what he can answer to you about. Because my thing about it is, like, I would go ahead and deny. I mean, we saw it work for the president. We see it work for the Governor Cuomo. Why not sit up there and do the same thing with Deshaun Watson?
Because Governor Cuomo and the president was white.
So?
What do you mean?
I mean, so, like, you sit up there, they denying it. So why can't you do the same thing?
Okay, so Governor Cuomo, right? He got all these allegations.
Yeah.
Same situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
We ain't heard nothing about him having to face nothing. We ain't even heard him in the news as much as Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson getting way more press than Governor Cuomo.
No,
Donald Trump.
They're trying to force him to resign, but he said he's
not right. It's a difference between trying to force. It's a difference between trying to force and keeping somebody in a position. They're keeping Deshaun Watson as the quarterback of Houston. They're not letting him go. They're not trading him. So they're letting people know, hey, you don't want this guy because this guy is trouble. We're going to keep him. But Cuomo, with the same allegations, they're trying to get him out. He's not going anywhere, and they're really not doing anything about it. Then you got the ex-president who had the same allegations. They tried to do their best to get him out, but they couldn't get him out of it. Now, if they decided to say, hey, Deshaun Watson, we're going to go ahead and get you out of here and send you to jail, Deshaun Watson's going to jail. Deshaun Watson's getting off the team. Those are two different scenarios because of the skin color of each of those people.
True. I give you that. But I still do believe that, like, he'll be able to go in and get out of that thing. It's like one way or another, he's getting out. Either he's getting out, like you said, going through jail, or either like his name is going to be so sullied to where like Houston would go ahead and do it. But if I was him, what I would do, I would just go ahead and sit on out. Because that's basically your only. That's
I wouldn't,
because
I feel like if he sits out, that's admitting his guilt. And then if he says that he's not guilty, go ahead and play. Keep doing what he's doing, because everything he's done so far has been him saying that I'm not guilty.
But I mean,
he's been pressing forward with everything else, and so far it's he's in the position that he's saying he's not guilty.
But even with all these public allegations and stuff of him, of his wrongdoings, by him not saying anything, he's already guilty in the public eye. So what?
No,
like
the public eye is not the same thing as the law, though. So him not saying anything is the smartest thing that he can do. He'll let everybody else burn themselves, and then at the end of the day, he can at least step up and say, I told y'all, I never said anything. I stood firm on everything that I've done. I don't have anything to say. He doesn't need to come out and say anything. He needs to sit back, let his lawyers do their job, and prove that he's not guilty. Plain and simple.
And I agree with you on that as well too. And like, once he does that, I would sit up there and sue all those accused, and especially that lawyer as well too, for defamation.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Go and do it. But to play devil's advocate, what if it's true?
Well, if it's true, I mean, he got to go down. If it's true, he got to go down. Not take back everything I said. I put that on everything I love. I'll take back everything I said if it's true. But we, as standing as it is right now, we don't know. But if it comes out to be true, I mean, everybody who's pretty much on my side, we just got to eat crow.
Cool.
Yeah. Dustin, you want to close us out?
Next subject.
Well, I wasn't gonna get into it, man. We ended up going long on all three subjects that we had. Well, we had more to get into. I
Good
don't know how
pod,
everybody
man.
is on time, so it was gonna be. Dustin ended up having to. He ended up saying something. I was like, nah, man, we'll be able to squeeze all this in on one pod, but everything ended up going long. So it might. What you got, G?
I do want to say one thing, and this might open up a wormhole, and I apologize if it does. My wife's going to kill me if it does. It'll be all right. I want to prepare people because there's probably going to be there's already protests in Minneapolis. I can't even say it. It's probably going to get a lot rougher. Because of the trial, and I don't think it's going to go the way that everybody wants it to. And I'm not saying whether he's guilty, not guilty on any of them. But my problem is with the media, because of the information I get and the stuff I listen to. Every day I see, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, all that stuff, and they're telling you like it's an open and shut case. Watch the video. It's an open and shut case. It's murder. It's this witness says this. This witness says this, and they're not reporting on the defense. They're not giving the whole story, which they should. They're not. Even if people don't like it, even if people don't like what they're hearing, they need to hear the whole story so they're prepared for it. And right now, people are not going to be prepared for it. Because until I listened to a few sources yesterday, I had no clue. I thought it was like, man, they're going to get this guy for murder. It's the trials in Minneapolis. And I'm talking about the Chauvin trial for George Floyd.
Yes.
I just figured the way everything's happened, I just figured they'd get him. Whether it should be manslaughter, murder, I just figured they'd get murder because of everything I've been reading and seeing in the headlines. And then I listened to I actually listened to tapes from the trial on those same witnesses that they're reporting on, and the defense is tearing them apart. The defense is actually using one of the prosecution's witnesses. They're going to call them as a witness, which is horrible for the prosecution. They're going to call them for a witness because the prosecution, they objected when when it was their turn, and now the defense they're going to take their turn, and all it takes is reasonable doubt. You know, you have to have a full jury for acquittal or for guilty. It'll probably be a hung jury, and it'll probably end up being manslaughter in the end. That's my guess, but you know, I know certain people, I don't even know who said it. I just heard that people have come out and said they were prepared for riots, and I don't even know if it's true. Honestly, I heard it on like not WYFF, but News Channel 7, whatever that is. And I don't think the real media that everybody sees is preparing people, and I think they want it that way. I think they want division. I think they want people to be upset. And again, I'm not calling guilty, non-guilty. What I think is right, because I don't know. I wasn't there. I saw the video, and
But here's
I
the
want
thing.
people.
Here's the thing, though, Dan. I mean, Dustin. Here's the thing that where a lot of people, like, if he's not guilty, why are you going to have the riots and all that stuff? Is for the simple fact is that, like, people are sick and tired of one group getting killed and another group doing the same exact thing and being taken to jail without any incident. People are sick and tired of being beaten to death and killed, you know, on the hands of the law enforcement. Whenever you have people who commit these mass murders or mass shootings and stuff like that, being taken to Burger King or can't come in without a scratch or anything on them, come in, you know, peacefully, but yet you see people getting killed for a traffic signal, a dang on air freshener in the thing, legally carrying a gun, dang on playing in the park, dang on playing the music too loud. Like these little instances like that is what's going to cause everybody to end up flipping their shit, to be honest with you, because people are, honestly, I believe that black people are tired of turning the other cheek. And like, once you get tired of turning the other cheek about the injustices that's going to happen or continuously happen, until these people are like held accountable to the same consequences to you and I, you know, are held to in the same terms that you and I are going to held to, you're still going to have these instances to where, like, you know, like a lot of people are going to come up there and you're going to have these police shootings and police killings because they're not being held accountable for what they're doing. But like, if I go out and kill you, or if I go out and kill a police officer, like, I'm 9 times out of 10 they're gonna shoot and kill me, just like how Christopher Donner killed his own another police officer, or whatever. They literally hunted that man down and killed him, you know, instead of bringing him to justice or what they should have done or whatever. But yet you sit up there and you have a lot of these people who sit up here, you know, trying to comply with the police officers, you know, want to do everything else, and then they end up getting shot and killed. Because I mean, like, we remember the Walter Scott, the thing down here in South Carolina, to where like the officer stood up there and said that like he was reaching for the gun, but yet, you know, somebody had on the video of Walter Scott actually running away from the gun from the
Oh, absolutely.
and he ended up getting shot
all day.
But there was another incident in South Carolina. I think it was in Bluffton. I think it was, or something. It might have been Bluffton or Chapin, to where there was a state trooper. He pulled a guy over in a gas station. He asked the little kid, jumped out of the car. He didn't even run anything. He jumped out of the car and like put his hands up and stuff. So the officer said, like, give me your license and registration. He reaches back into the car to get his license and registration, and the police officer shoots him. Yeah. So he sits up there and shoots him. Yeah. And like, he shoots him in the side, but he didn't kill him. But that happened around the same exact time to where like Walter Scott did, but they didn't get as much press as it should have. But he ended up shooting him or whatever. But he was complying to what the officer asked him to do. But then, like, you have another one, like in Minneapolis. I don't know why, but like after the Philando Castile thing, I would sit up there and try to do a whole bunch of training to sit up and do it, because you had a legal firearm, a legal man to carry. He had a legal permit to carry. He stood up there and told the officer that he had a gun.
He
Since
did.
he told the officer that he had a gun, he ended up getting killed. And then his wife, his girlfriend and wife was sitting up there, had on live doing that one, and you can see the officer panicking.
Wasn't the kid in the car too?
Yeah, and they had the kid in the
back
car,
seat.
Yeah.
in the back seat, and all that stuff. And he was sitting up there just doing the same thing, telling the officer, the wife was telling the officer about, how she was recording this for her safety and everything, and the officer panicking because he shot somebody else. I mean, like, you sit up there and you see this over and over and over and over again, and like I said, like, you just see my daughter. She just rose up. I mean, like, she just came up here. Like, how can I sit up there and look in my daughter's eye and like not be afraid that like I won't be here to protect my daughter? That's just that's a human thing that like a lot of people are not realizing that, like, yeah, like as much as you want to go home to your family, I want to go home to mine as well too. So it's like, like you if you're not the person to look at assess the situation and not quick to pull the trigger and quick to kill me for the simple fact that I'm bigger than you and I may pose a threat than you, then like you shouldn't be in that line of duty. And like I think a lot of people, well, I know, especially on I guess in our community or whatever, it's not necessarily that they want to defund the policeman, but they need to sit up there and try to like do something with their training in order for them to like be able to I guess de-escalate the situation and not try to go to the whole thing of like the first thing you think of is killing a black person, but yet a white person doing the same exact thing, you sit up there, you can tase him and take him to jail, and he's able to live and go back home. So I think that's the issue about what's going on.
But Scoots, before you go, can I
go ahead?
I so the first on the media is my biggest issue. Before I wanted to close on that was my biggest issue because I believe they cause more problems than anything else right now. And that's where I was going with that with the trial, because they really do. They're causing division right now. People really think that this guy's going to jail because it seems like an open and shut case, and it's really in the court of law things are crazy. Between manslaughter and murder, there's a big difference of intent and a lot of different things. You guys know that, and I'm not, but so I just wanted to say that my problem is with that media.
Yeah.
On the shootings. You're absolutely right in the fear. I can't even really comment on what it's like to grow up in a black neighborhood. Obviously, I have plenty of black friends, but that doesn't make up for anything. I can only tell you about my experience. I've been arrested twice. One of those being an illegal search, which ended up saving me. I've also, I grew up lower middle class and fell into a wrong way, not because of where I started, but because of just being an idiot. That's just on me. But luckily, I had family that loved me and cared. But I'm getting off track. The shootings, I know the debate can go a bunch of different ways on how much it happens, who it happens to more, who it, white privilege. It could go a bunch of different ways. I will say, I see a Harvard study by a black professor that it was 2 or 3 years ago that says, after his study, that the it doesn't matter what color you are. When it comes to shootings, not violence, just shootings, that if it's given the same situation, in the same scenario, that me, you, Sean, Scoots, any of us have the same percentage of dying. When it comes to police violence, and violence not called for, that Hispanics and black men are more likely to be restrained, police violence, overused police violence. And being held accountable, I don't have any facts on that. I don't have any numbers. I do know black men outnumbered, it's like 70 to 30 or 60 to 40 black men in prison.
Yeah,
That's all I know.
yeah, but like I was talking about talking to well, there's a group chat that I'm in with a whole bunch of players, former players at Tennessee that we were all in, and like they just recently had a shooting a shooting up in Knoxville and
Right.
Austin East. All right, Austin East is primarily it's a hood school. To be quite honest, quite frankly with you, it's a hood school. And like the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation found out that like the police officer who got shot by friendly fire and not the kid who they said they would shot the police officer. But anyway, like we were sitting up here just thinking about it. I was like, okay, like the officer, depending on, I think what causes the officer to sit up there and get the change in his mindset or his mindset to go into the thing is depending on where he gets the call and like where his mind frame when he gets the call. So like, let's say for instance, like I sit up here and I'm working a patrol or so, and I go to downtown Greer, to the Oyster Bar or something like that along those lines. It's a nice like a primarily family area or anything along those lines. So like me going to there, my interactions and stuff, I'm not going to be hostile coming in because I feel that like I'm at
welcome.
ease. I feel welcome there and all that stuff. But like if I end up getting a call to go to like Sunnyside or something along those lines, I'm already tense and on the verge of doing all this stuff, anxious because
of the reputation.
Just because of the reputation and the area is at, and I end up bringing my aggression towards that. To me, police reform should be about your biases about one area over another, because 9 times out of 10, it's usually the opposite of if you go into it, because like 9 times out of 10. Majority of black folks don't want any trouble with the police whatsoever,
right?
Or whatever. Like they're going to go.
Most people, yeah.
Most people
I'll
don't
speak on behalf of white people.
Most people don't want any problems with the policemen at all. But like usually, whenever you get the problems or whatever, it's because of the disrespect. One side shows towards the other, and all that. And it's like, and I think that's where the training and stuff needs to go on, because like for the most part, some black people, I'm not gonna sit there and say it like categories and all this stuff, but like most black people, whatever, are loud. They speak forcefully and aggressively and all that stuff. Meaning, like some of them, that's how they speak and that's how they communicate. They're very visual. They communicate with their hands and all this stuff.
It can be intimidating.
It can be intimidating to someone who doesn't know these people or anything along those lines. So, like, in order for you to be able to be police or the police correctly, I think you should spend time with someone else that's outside your race. So therefore, you get the understanding of how they communicate, how they address stuff, if they're happy, sad, mad, angry, or anything along those lines. Because like I can say, like with Sean, for instance, like I know Sean for the back of my hand or whatever. I want to see Sean get mad one time, and that's when you disrespected him. But besides that, he's all calm, cool, collective.
Yo, you get mad, bro?
Yeah.
One of the calmest people I know.
I only see him get mad one time. But like then, like you have some other people, whatever, some of our friends, like Darren Moore or whatever. He's one of the nicest guys ever, but yet he's loud and he's very loud. He sits up there and talks with his hands and all of that stuff. But yet someone that's coming into the situation, they may think that he's the threat, but he's really not a threat. He's just being himself. But I think that's where like a lot of people end up getting messed up at.
I
I
don't disagree with you, and I don't.
What,
You want to go ahead, Sean? You ain't said much, man. I was just gonna say
man.
I agree
I need
with
to
you.
get in on this. I need to get in on it because I hear what everybody's saying, and I've had countless conversations about this on this podcast. And Sinclair, I hear what you're saying. Me, how I feel about it. Fuck police reform because that's not the problem. The problem is when it comes to black people in these situations, we're not looked at as human beings. That's why this happens more to us than it does to white people. Like, and then like there's this like like I said, like me and Uncle Washington, we've gone on this 1,000 times, and it's like it has to be changed the way that we're looked at. And I don't know if it's them, staying in our communities, which I don't really think that. The thing is, like, there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of solutions, but it's like we don't know what's the perfect thing to do. And I think the thing is, if you want to talk about police reform, I think it's more about it needs to be more psychological, and you know what I'm saying, evaluations on these people. Like we need to know how these people think because obviously there are countless videos of white people fighting with the cops, and there's been countless situations where they're waving a gun at the cops and they're not being gunned down. Like there's a lot of situations where guys are apprehended with a lot of firearms and they're apprehended. And with us, as soon as we get pulled over, the gun is already drawn. Like we looked at as threats and we looked at as people who are expendable because we're not looked at as human beings. Like we began in this country as 3/5 of a man. You know what I'm saying? Even when you look at, you know what I'm saying, the Second Amendment, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th. Why these things even have to exist is because black people are living here. Like the Second Amendment, everybody likes to talk about, oh, my right to bear arms, but it's the reason if you look at the wording, the reason you have your right to bear arms was because in the South, black people overpopulated white people, and they gave slave owners the opportunity to carry a gun slaves in control. You know what I'm saying? So they can govern themselves. They can control their own household because they're outran by the population of black people. So it's like all of these laws and stuff are put in place like to let you know, like, yo, you're a second class citizen. You can take your life, and we don't get charged for it. So like the whole blue code of silence, all this stuff, like that's like the only thing that I could think of, and I'll let Scoots go, is the fact of the only way this is gonna happen is like there has to be something set in place like it is in New York. Me and Dustin talked about this before, like in New York. Plexico Burris, he shot himself. It doesn't matter. 2 years. Like there has to be something put in place to where whether I know everybody like to talk about due process and all this stuff, but it's just like someone needs to be held accountable, and none of these people are being held accountable, and they know that the blue code of silence is going to save them, so they're quick to pull the trigger and say, "Oh, I thought it was a taser," or "I was fearing for my life." When all of us fear for our life all the time, like I've been telling Scoots, man, Scoots, I got an update and I let you go. Like I'm saying, I was I was all fucked up because like my dealership tag had expired last month on the 7th, and I finally got
Mm-hmm.
my tag today. FedEx let me today, so I'm happy about that. So I got. But when you think about the guy that had on his uniform, on his army uniform, he gets shot pulling out of a dealership. Not shot. He got maced. He
Pepper
got maced
spray.
because pepper spray because he had a dealership tag, and they are aggressively speaking to this man. So just like that, like I'm
Yeah, that
driving
was
with fear
ridiculous.
because I don't have my tag. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of people don't have to think about just simple shit like that. But I hear the whole conversation about police reform. I just think that there needs to be something put in place where it's like, yo, if it's an unlock, like I don't know, man. But Scoots, man, you haven't had a chance to speak on it, man. What you got?
Um, I think that all of this comes from a lack of knowledge. At the foundation of it all is just a lack of knowledge. I feel like if man, it's kind of weird saying this, but going through it myself, you know what I'm saying? Just as I'm sure everybody else is going through it, there's no there's no worse feeling in the world than getting pulled over by the police, right?
Right.
But I feel like as a black man in America, there's an extra layer of that worst feeling, right? Because you know that regardless if you know the law and everything else, you know that in the back of your mind that this guy could be this racist cop, or you know what I'm saying, this lady could be this racist cop. And so you get a, you know what I'm saying, you get a weird feeling. Like for me, to this day, I feel weird, even though we're supposed to wear masks going in the store. I feel weird even walking into a store with a mask on. Like that shit gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
To the point to where a lot of people don't even understand me. But like I don't wear like a regular mask. I wear a gaiter. So like to even go in and do like this before I walk into a store, I'm subconsciously cautious of even doing that. So even that feeling alone, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this is something we're supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to go into the store with something covering my face. But even walking around like that, it makes me anxious. But I think as far as I'll get to the Derek Chauvin case first. The Derek Chauvin case, I think that they're going to make him an example. With everything that I've been seeing, is pretty much I've heard everything Dustin has said, and I somewhat agree with him. But I think that they're not going to more so listen to the witnesses. They're going to more so listen to the professionals that have been up there before everything has been said and done. The coroner has came out and said that it's asphyxiation. I don't know why I can't say that word. And there's been excessive force professionals who've even said that that's beyond the line. So, and then not even that, we thought it was 8 minutes and we found out it was 9+. So I think that at the end of the day, he's going to go down. He's going to be used as that sacrifice. So America can at least have something to say, hey, you know, I know that with these past issues, this has happened, but we're going to use this guy as a sacrifice to say that he was in the wrong. We have to lock him up, right? And they're going to use that as the blueprint to further go along with the rest of whatever Biden's term is, or whatever it may be, Biden's next term or Kamala's future term, or Kamala, or however you say her name. But as far as police reform and everything like that goes, I know you said that they should be checking everybody's mental. I think police reform should really be to get people who actually live in these communities to actually police the communities that they live in. Because at the end of the day, you have a different sense of security when you're policing the community you live in, right? If you were to go into wherever you live and become a police officer, you're definitely going to want to make sure that everything goes right because you live in that community. You don't care about the next community over that you don't live in if somebody's doing the B&E, because you can kind of get that leeway because you don't live over there. You're not worried about that. But if somebody's doing the B&E to your neighbor, well, hell, you want to make sure you go catch that person because the next house they can get is yours, right? And so I think that what should happen is that the people who live in these communities should be policing these communities. I think that is an answer to police reform, because there's no better way to get somebody to care about a community than the community that they live in. And then if you actually start taking away that what is it called? The immunity, whatever it's called, applied immunity or whatever it is. If you take away that immunity and you start actually charging these cops for murder and actually giving these cops the actual charges that they're supposed to get and actually making them guilty and everything else, you don't have this in the future. Because now if you got, I think it's implied immunity. Is that right?
Yeah, implied immunity.
Okay. So if you take away implied immunity, right? And now when an officer kills somebody, he's being charged as a citizen that pretty much is doing his job. Because if I work at a company and I steal from a company, I'm being charged as a citizen, right? I'm not being charged as a professional. So if you take that cop and let him be charged as a citizen instead of a professional, you have a whole different situation there, because now that cop is going to think about what he's doing. And just like Sinclair said, he's going to try to make sure he further de-escalates the situation instead of just pulling out a gun and shooting somebody. Sean, I think you made a perfect case of saying that from the inception of this country, we've been looked at as non-human. I think that with this pandemic and us having to actually sit at home and actually having to watch what happened to George Floyd, I think that view has maybe not changed 100%, but it's given some kind of slight change to actually see the damage that police have done. Because we may see on every post or every news outlet that a black man is getting shot, but black people aren't the only people getting shot by police. Because at the same time that Trayvon Martin had got shot, it was a young white boy that had got shot as well. He just didn't get the news coverage. At the same time that Tamir Rice, that was in Ohio where I live, had got shot, it was also a white man who had got shot as well. He just didn't get the coverage. So even though that black and Latino people get shot, I think triple the time that white people get shot, white people still get shot from the police too. I think that once we make this issue more than just a race issue and we bring this issue to a class issue, because really that's what it is. It's a class issue. It's an issue that black people are being pretty much put in the face of poverty, right? We're being the face of poverty, and we're not. We're not the face of poverty, because if we know anything, illegal immigrants are the pretty much the face of poverty, because they're working for the lowest wage possible, if any wage at all.
Yeah.
And so when you put black people in that space to make them the face of poverty, then now we're just looking at it as black people are all poor, right? We get to make this big general assumption that black people are poor, when at the end of the day, all black people aren't poor. All black people aren't lower class. There's a lot of middle class black people. There's a lot of rich black people. There to this day, there's as many rich black people as has ever been in this country. There's more middle class black people as there has ever been in this country. I come from a middle class black family. I am a part of a middle class black family. So to see this and to think that, oh man, black people are poor is crazy. And that's the narrative that they want to keep pushing. I agree with Dustin when at the end of the day, the media really is the one to be looked at, because the media is the one that keeps recycling all of these images and all of these videos, when at the end of the day, they're really just trying to get us to react. So if constantly, hold on real quick, Sinclair, constantly we see these videos and all we're doing is reacting, that's giving the police a chance for us to get shot down in the street, to get everything else, because now we're reacting. If you listen to all three of our scenarios and everything else that we've talked about, everything that we've talked about has been fear. And why do we have fear? Because we constantly see these images. We've constantly been told these stories. We've constantly been fed that no matter what you do as a black man in America, you have to be cautious when you walk down the street. You have to make sure you go the extra route when you're getting pulled over. You have to do this. You have to do that. As a black man in America, you have to go the extra mile to make sure that you can come back home. Just like Sinclair said, when he is holding his baby, he has to make sure that he does what he has to do to come back to his baby. There's a reason for that. This is something that the media is propagating and constantly giving us propaganda to say that this is what you have to do, black man, in order to be able to come home. And at the end of the day, we have to be, like I said in the beginning, it's a lack of knowledge. We have to be knowledgeable within ourselves to know that we are still citizens within this country, within the 14th Amendment, within the 15th and 13th, not 13th, within the 14th and 15th Amendment. When you're born in this country, you're a citizen of this country. We are American. We're not African American. We're not Irish American. We are American. So when I was born on this country, this is my birthright to be a citizen in this country. So at the end of the day, they can't take that from me. I don't give a fuck what color my skin color is. I don't give a fuck what my gender is or what I claim to be. I am an American. So at the end of the day, my people fought for this country in every war that this country has been in, from the Civil War to the Revolutionary War and every war in between. So as far as I'm concerned, I am a Black American. And if they can't deal with that, that's something that they have to deal with. So at the end of the day, we have to be knowledgeable in order to protect ourselves and learn our constitutional rights and force feed these people to let them know we are of this country. And if they cannot accept that, then maybe they need to go to another country.
True.
That's all I got to say.
Yep. Go ahead, Dustin.
All right. First on the I'm gonna go back to the case real quick, the trial first. Those same witnesses you were talking about, that's what I meant by the professionals, the asphyxiation. Right. They demolished him by saying asphyxiation can actually be caused by drugs, by overdose of methamphetamine, fentanyl. They also, they searched the cop car and they found pills with methamphetamines and fentanyl with Floyd's DNA on them. Mm-hmm. They also, the professional that said it was too much force, they didn't print that in the news, or print it, I say. They didn't publish that says that they demolished him as well, saying, he sometimes this hold is necessary for whatever reason. They demolished. I don't even know the whole story.
Right.
On it.
But I mean, that's their job. I expect that though.
Yeah,
that's their job. I expect that.
And my whole thing is reasonable doubt. They'll have so much reasonable doubt. If it was just one person, but it seems like every witness that the defense calls is, they got super upset at their own witness couple days ago because they weren't saying exactly what they needed to not give reasonable doubt, to make it without a doubt. So that was my only point on that. The media just needs to share that. Just needs to share all the facts, whether it's bad or good. Just share it. I don't need your opinion. I want the facts. What do they say? Other than that, I 100% agree on the being American. I know all three of you from, me and Scoots obviously just met, but Sean and Sinclair, two great guys, two family guys. We don't agree on everything. We have different opinions, but you're American. You deserve every right to every amendment that I have. And I wholeheartedly agree on put a man in his neighborhood with the police. I don't even think there's, most, honestly, that's what mostly happens because you have most white cops. It's probably about like the population now. And they're in around most of their neighborhoods just naturally. That's how it ends up. But the black cops probably wind up here and there. And then there's some white cops that end up over here. There's some that are high strung. There's some that are racist. There's some that are just aren't meant for the job. It's not an easy job.
Right.
And I think anybody, once the situation starts going south, I don't think anyone's looked at as human. I think it's looked at as a suspect or as however they phrase it in their training. And I agree. I don't think it's defund. Crime violence has went up like 30%. It went up like 200% in cities like Portland and New York, places that got rid of the police. And I honestly think it also comes down to to God. So much in today's society, there's been, well, not God, but also lack of fellowship at the church or with your fellow brothers of Christ. And even if you aren't a Christian, just the lack of face to face like this. Me and Sinclair have had, I don't know how many debates on Facebook. We don't see each other too often. We've passed each other in Walmart a couple times or whatever, but I mean, we went to school together, so we probably have a feel for what each other's, demeanor is. But if you're just talking to somebody, trying to debate online, there's no talk. There's no prior knowledge of what kind of person is actually talking there, and
But it's still a respect there, though.
Yeah.
absolutely there should be. There
Yeah,
absolutely
and
should be.
that's how that matters.
That's
I
all that
agree,
matters.
and
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it has to do with society. I'm not talking about the police part. I'm talking about the killings and the stuff that follows and the division, and a lot of it comes back to lack of God. Actually, after our last podcast, Sean, I talked to a couple people. I was like, what'd you think? And talked back and forth, and they gave their input, and I was like, man, my dad said something, and I was like, you're right, man. It's really nowadays. I mean, it's crazy, especially for our age that grew up from the '80s to now. The change we've seen, and the things that have stayed the same. It's like a lot of bad things that have stayed the same. But I think there's a lot of police too that agree with you, that want the change.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a system type issue. I don't want to. I mean, that's a whole nother. That could go forever about the
Right.
whole system and government, but
Right.
I do think it is a system issue, and training. But I don't think defunding and getting rid of cops is the answer. I think it's putting it in the right place. And I don't know all the answers. Honestly, I'm like Socrates, man. I don't know. But I'll listen, and I'll take all the facts until I get a pretty good idea.
Yeah, like
Sinclair, you got the last word.
so what I want to say is, like, both of you certainly were saying something about the media or how you can't trust the media or anything along those lines, which I understand that that's true as well too. Like the media, you can be the media darling or you can be the media villain, depending on how some people perceive you or anything along those lines or so. But like the kicker that I say is that, like, social media, because social media basically, like, if I'm recording something here and I'm doing it and I can upload it, therefore I can create my own narrative, and therefore, like, a lot of people are getting the information, well, this information through that than what they're getting from CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and all that stuff. I grew up
Mm-hmm.
in a news watching family, so like my dad, like every day we would literally watch we would watch the 5 o'clock news, the local news, then we watch the national news, we watch Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, One News America, One American News, C-SPAN, all that stuff. Like we were literally from 5 o'clock until 9 o'clock, we watching some form of news. So therefore, you'll be able to shape your whole entire view. And that's why I believe now is that, like, now basically we're getting on. You either get on CNN and go
Fox News.
primarily like Democratic, or either you get on Fox
Mm-hmm.
News and go primarily thing. But what I really think America is like in the middle ground or whatever. Like you trying to figure out what's going on, and you try to give you a perspective about what's going on, take it from both sides or so. My thing about it is that, like, we have issues to where it's clearly, like, to me it's clear cut to how things are happening, and you see it plain as day.
of how one group gets targeted and one group's not, but yet you see them there saying, "Oh, well, this person had such in the system, so therefore he deserved to die, or he did this and that and the other." Like with George Floyd and stuff like that. That to me, that's kind of BS. For the simple fact is that like you don't know what this man had in the system, or you don't
Right.
know anything along those lines. The same thing with that dude in Kenosha who shot those persons like defending a store or something. He shot and killed somebody else when like he really didn't do it. It turns out to be that he was a child molester or something like that. And like, oh well, you know, his life doesn't matter because he's a child molester. No, his life matters just as much as somebody else's, depending on what he did or anything along those lines. The God who's going to sit up there, God or whoever you believe in, is going to sit up there and handle his situation, but not like the other thing. So my thing about it is that like you can't sit up there and say like, well, you know, it's just all media just painting out anything, because the only thing the media is doing is showing you exactly what the people are basically doing. Like we make the news that like the cops killing like the cops killing black people. That's high in the news, so that's what they're gonna highlight or anything along those lines. But the what they should be highlighting is that the cops killing people. Period. It shouldn't be that they're only killing black people, but they're killing people. Period. You shouldn't be that shouldn't be your first recourse of killing people. And yet, you know, you have the people who you think they should be killing, like these mass shooters and stuff like that. They taking them in without any regard or anything. So that's my whole issue about the whole policing thing. Like I do believe that, you know, it would be a whole lot better if people around your neighborhood would go ahead and do it and police your own neighborhood and all that stuff. But yet, whenever people try to do that, they label them as a terrorist group with the Black Panther Party. They were doing the same exact thing, but yet they label them as a terrorist group. But then you have like the KKK, who's supposedly a Christian organized based group, and like they use the word of God, and yet they terrorize and put crosses in front of other believers' houses and hang them from trees, but yet you still tell them that's
Burning crosses.
burning
Burning
crosses.
crosses.
Yeah, burning crosses in front of people's houses and like hanging people that looks like me from trees, and then you expect me to sit up there and believe that the God loves us all, the same God loves us, and all that stuff. So like, you know, you sit up there saying,
The same guy who put Ephesians chapter 6 verses 5 and 6 in the Bible too. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. So no, but I mean, like you sit up there saying all that stuff. So that's why I think like with America, it seems like we live in two different Americas, because like I'm saying, like I remember we're going to the same churches. Like we went to Fairview Baptist Church and all this stuff. Like we would go to that church, we preach the same thing and all that other stuff. But unless we were on the football team, we really didn't talk to those people who went there. They really didn't congregate us and all that stuff unless we were on the football team. But yet, you know, you sit up there and they tell you, oh well, yeah, you know, Christ is my brother and all that stuff, and like so therefore you're my brother in Christ, so therefore I'm gonna protect you. But yet, you know, we're preaching, praying to the same person, and yes, and later on that day, back in the day, you know, you will be hanging from a tree and stuff like that. Like I don't get how that's the same thing. That's my whole thing about trying to bring religion into it, because you know people say like God is missing from America. That may be true. That may be honestly whatever and all that stuff as well too. Like I do have a personal relationship with God, and you know, like I end up praying and stuff like that as well too. But I mean, like I can't sit up there and tell somebody else that God loves you, but yet I still hate you because of your gender or who you choose to mate with or who you choose to identify as. That to me, that's honestly BS. You know, because if we all created or if we all created in God's image, He loves us all, regardless of our color, our skin, our gender, who we identify with, or anything along those lines. So that's one point there. Another point that I was just saying is that like with our media consumption and the things that we consume on the media, I believe that, you know, like they're going to with any entity, they're going to try to make the best decision to move the needle and to make the money and all this stuff that what they need to do in order to pay their bills. We all know that. So the thing that's in the media now is black police killing black people and stuff like that. The whole and like like I said, like we've already hit on the pieces of the thing because those people aren't held accountable. They continue on doing it, and you would continue on seeing the cycle. So therefore, we're going to continue getting outraged for the simple fact that it's like they're not being held accountable to the situations or the things or the consequences. Well, their consequences aren't being held accountable like you and I would be if we did the same thing that they did or whatever. So I mean, like until you make an example out of one of these cops, which I'm pretty sure is probably going to be Derek Chauvin for the simple fact, whenever he killed George Floyd. The time
At
he
the
killed
wrong
George
time.
Floyd, yeah, and he killed him at the wrong time because everybody was at home not doing anything. If it was like a year before, or even like
Wouldn't have
now,
been
since
no
we're
issue.
opening up now, I'm pretty sure like within a couple of months it'd have been passed over or anything along those lines. Because like another crazy thing that I just realized by like reading the newspaper is that well looking at the news and different outlets and stuff like that. You remember Jacob Blake? He's the one that got shot. You know, a couple of things. The officers who shot him are back on force now.
Yep.
Back on duty
And
now.
they're back on active duty and stuff like that. Like they didn't even have anything else, but they paralyzed this cat for doing all that stuff, like for going back in this car and all this stuff in front of his kids. And like you're saying, like, you know, black people are being dehumanized or anything along those lines. That's the reason why we're having all these situations and stuff like that. But like, if you can sit up there and do that and like hold these people accountable for what they're doing to black folks and all this stuff, then I'm assuming that, well, I'm pretty certain that you wouldn't have all these riots and looting and stuff that you have now, because like all that is like the voice of the unheard, like Tupac always said, like violence and riots are the people the voice of the unheard. Like I told you, it's like we're sick and tired, like black people or minorities and stuff like that are sick and tired of turning the other cheek whenever, you know, are waiting for people to continue on to show us the same respect as we show them. But there's going to be an awakening if things don't change. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a time we're here to where like you're going to get to the point to where, you know, minorities and people who are not in power do not care about it anymore, and then they're going to go off and start probably another war or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened because people are not being held accountable for their actions.
I hear that, man. And we'll close it out, man. I just want to say, man, to all of y'all, you know, I appreciate y'all coming on this panel, man. Like I know it was presented to me by Sinclair and Dustin. And Dustin, you said it. You said you were gonna be back on the pod, man. I appreciate you, man, coming in on this
Yeah, man.
conversation because the thing is, like, man, you know, it's a dialogue thing, man, and like it's great to have you know, somebody that that's not on the podcast may have different views on some things and also be able to, you know, take some of this race talk, man, because it's not a lot of white people that are jumping on the race talk, man, and you know, you willing to do it, man, and I appreciate you for doing that, and I appreciate the listeners that you brought in, as far as that podcast that we did and all that type of stuff. You know,
Hey,
Sinclair, you know, I always okay, go ahead, my bad.
it is my pleasure. And you know, I obviously and I'll tell you, I'm more libertarian, I guess, if we're going to, you know, politically wise, more so on the conservative, old school. Like, I believe in the Constitution for everybody kind of thing. Or maybe that's new school. Who knows? Who knows anymore? But uh I want to thank y'all for having me, and I'd be happy to come on again. We could talk. I know all three of us, four of us, could probably talk a lot more uh, about the same things. Just keep going. Uh, but I do appreciate it, and I do. I love y'all, and keep being strong family men. And that's all. That's the advice I have, man. Just look to God and be strong family men. Keep that family first. And do what you got to do to protect
Yes,
you and
sir,
your
man.
family.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate that. Nothing but love and seeing, man. You know what I'm saying. You told me from the very beginning. You like, if there's anything you ever need, I got you. You know, anytime I ever ask you, You know what I'm saying? You came on the pod, you shared your thoughts. And then there's been times where you hit me up because you wanted to jump on. So I always appreciate that, man, because this podcasting thing, Scoot, he know all about it, man. This podcasting thing, man, you know what I'm saying? It's something that you built from the ground up. And, for somebody who would reach out and you be like, yo, you know what I'm saying? I got some things to say and I want to say it on your platform. I've always, considered you part of the team, man. And I appreciate you, man, for jumping on with me today. Last thing.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. I appreciate it. And, like I said, anytime I can help you, just let me know. Scoop's the same thing. I extend the same thing to you as well too. And if you need me, this is my first time actually meeting you and all this stuff. And it's a great job, even though you're Ohio State and Cleveland fan. I go ahead and let that go slide. But man, like I said, if there's anything that I can do to help you, help your platform, and same thing with you as well, Dustin. I don't know what you do. I think you're still in lawn care and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anything I can do to help y'all out, man, I'm more than happy to sit up there and try to help y'all out in any way I can.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate that, man. The school, we do our thing all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, for the people that don't know, we might have some new listeners, but you know what I'm saying? We formed a partnership. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, we really been fucking with each other for going on 4 years, man. So
Yeah.
a lot of people might not know that, man. So it's we done had a long podcast relationship, man. And we got
man.
like joint features, you know what I'm saying?
For sure, bro. Man, listen, it's been great getting the chance, meet you guys. Dustin, I listened to y'all episode, man. It was amazing. You know what I'm saying? It was a chance to hear, just like as I said, another side of the coin. You have a great insight. I definitely appreciate it. Sinclair, man, I've heard you multiple times, of course. And man, listen, even though you got that Steelers shirt on, and even though you put that ugly cup in front of that camera, you know what I'm saying? I can't even speak of the name that you said. It's like the name that shall not be mentioned.
Go Blue.
But I tell you this though, bro, I definitely want to get with you. I'm a inbox you soon, so I can get you on my podcast as well, man, because you got some great insight, man. Both of you guys have a great voice. I want to give you guys that. It's not easy to get on the podcast and just speak. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't know that, but you guys did a great job today. This is my first time podding with you guys, and listen, I wouldn't even try to get on with anybody else because this has been an amazing pod, man. Sean, bro, you already know how we do, man. This is lovely for me. I ain't gonna lie to you. I wish we could go on for a couple more hours. And this is I love this, man. I love this. But thank you guys, man, for having me on as well. Thank you guys, for chatting with me. As Dot, man, thank you for having me on, bro. I appreciate it.
Man, no problem. And Dustin, man, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to your wife's business, man, before we get up out of here one more time. Just to
actually
got some listeners around.
Yeah, it's actually not her business today. Today I just want to give a shout out to next weekend, the 24th. I shared it with you, Sean. We're doing a 5K for autism. It's in Greenville. I wish I could remember the name of it, and I can't pull it up. But we're doing a 5K. If you look it up, I'm sure it'll pop up on Google. 5K for autism, and it's not too expensive to join or donate, whatever you want to do. But our whole family's doing it, so just wanted to give a shout out for that. Give it a look up, and just be aware of it.
Hey, Dustin, please make sure you inbox me with that, man. So, because I got people down there, man. Let me know. I'll send it to them and see what I can do.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
For sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Scoot, shout out, you know what I'm saying, everything that you're doing, man. 15 minutes of fame, you know what I'm saying? Views and all that we do together.
Of course, man. You already know, man. 15 minutes of fame. That's my podcast, man, that I do. Hopefully the next episode will be with my guy Sinclair Cannon, man. We could talk that sports talk. We could find out, you know what I'm saying, all the famous people he knows and who the hell gave him that Pittsburgh Steelers shirt. You know what I'm saying?
It was
Hopefully,
actually my roommate. My roommate Ramon Foster gave me this shirt, so I'm wearing it on him.
well, hopefully, Ramon Foster is somewhere wishing that he never gave Sinclair Cannon that shirt, because now I'm gonna go home, or I'm sorry, I'm gonna go upstairs and do voodoo to make sure Ramon Foster gets burnt every play. Well, I don't know what position he played, but whatever position he played, I hope that he gets done in at his position when they play the Browns.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
he retired now, so you good. He
Oh, okay,
retired.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I ain't mad at him. But whoever took his position, I'm doing voodoo on them. But you can find me at Scootzbronsen on Twitter, man. You can find me on Instagram at Scootzbronsen_TV. You can go to Scootzbronsen TV on YouTube to find out all the Viewers Anonymous videos. We got them all there. Me, myself, and S. Foster. And not to mention, man, make sure y'all go check out the Viewers Anonymous podcast group on Facebook. That's where we do all our Viewers Anonymous stuff. We got all our podcasts. I'm sure this is going to be on there as well. And the link tree is up as well. Link tr.ee/viewers_anonymous. That's where you can find all the Viewers Anonymous information that you need if you want to watch it or listen to it. That's where everything is. And once again, bro, thank you, Dustin Sinclair, bro. Thank y'all too, man. This has been
Yes, sir.
amazing.
Yeah, man. I appreciate everybody jumping on, man. Obviously, man, because it went so long, we didn't really get to get everything in. But like Dustin said, man, hey, it could be a part 2 coming. So everybody be on the lookout for that, man. So I appreciate all y'all dudes for coming on. All of y'all been great, man. I got nothing but love for y'all. Y'all don't know how much this means to somebody like me, man, because I mean Scoots know the business. You know what I'm saying? As far as having
Yeah,
guests on
buddy.
your podcast, it ain't always the most ideal thing to do. So I appreciate y'all even wanting to come on my platform. So with that, I would say thanks for listening to the Stolen Time Podcast. This was episode 207 of the podcast, and we are out.